Don't look under the internet.
My name is Cleveland Brown, and I am proud to be right back in my hometown with my family.
Welcome, everybody, to Don't Look Under the Internet. As you can see, we are all very focused, laser focused, you might say.
Laser focus is a word.
It is. I don't usually do these intros, so I'm going to do the best I can. That over there is Mike.
No.
Welcome to Don't Look Under the Internet.
We're doing this again. Okay, we're just keep recycling. Reduce, reuse, recycle, I guess.
You could start like any of the last 5 episodes and not have any idea which one it is.
Exactly, 100%.
That's how you know it's good.
That's Doug.
Hi.
That is Matt.
Is it?
I think so.
Oh.
Okay. Oh.
Hi. Thanks for having me here.
Prove it.
And I am your friendly neighborhood Jason.
Jason,
we are
You're
once
Jesus.
again bringing a bunch of nonsensical bullshit to your ears and trying to make sense of it. However, this time
Internet
something-
horror.
we are an
Comedy.
Internet, we are an internet
Comedy.
horror comedy.
Horrible.
Horrible.
We are a horrible internet comedy.
Really tall.
I need
Really tall
someone to-
podcast.
Really
What we got any more? How does Spider F Puss Puss?
How
I
many
need someone to make
meatballs?
How many
a,
meatballs do you think?
I need someone to make a word cloud of
We haven't talked about Smurfs
to see
in a while.
what we've talked about.
Gargamel's
the
in there
most.
somewhere.
No.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Corbin, Kentucky.
He's dead.
Fuck Corbin, Kentucky.
All right, we hit them all. We hit them all. Welcome to the show, everybody. We are a horrible internet comedy. There we
Every
Jesus
intro.
I love
God.
how we like.
What even
Jason,
is
just
this?
were like we
Jason,
gotta,
what's the
we gotta
timestamp?
stay on topic.
What's the
tonight.
timestamp? Is it 42 seconds?
42 seconds.
It's-
No, you're way off.
You're very,
Shit.
very far away from that.
What the fuck is happening?
Oh, I was. That was the person screaming. That was the audience that we have chained up in my basement screaming.
It just sounds like hentai.
That's my favorite.
What the hell is happening?
What is happening right now? Holy Lord. Guys, in case you didn't know, we are an
Is
internet.
that Doug's computer? What is that?
No, it's not
I
playing.
can't be the only person who hears
I
that.
I'm not
hear it
hearing
too, but
anything
I'm trying
now.
to figure out what the fuck. Is there like an ad on a page that I have pulled up?
Well, no, if you
Hey,
were
Doug.
playing it, we would hear it in our headphones.
Oh yeah,
Doug.
that's right.
Hit the mute button.
No, it's not Doug.
Turn the
'Cause if it was
volume
Doug-
It
down.
sounds like a phone in someone's pocket.
My phone's right here. So
My
it's not
phone
my
is right
phone.
next to me, and I don't ever have my sound.
I don't hear
on.
it now.
I don't either. That was the craziest.
I'm not the
shit
only
ever.
person
No.
who heard it.
No,
though.
I
You're
heard
not
it
going.
too.
Okay.
We all heard it. No idea where it came from, though.
Oh my
Okay.
god. I have a
Jesus God.
segue.
What?
Oh my god!
I have
Go
a
take it.
segue.
I'm done.
Just do
I'm
it.
done
Do
trying.
housekeeping,
Anyway.
you piece of shit.
Yes,
Just do it.
Deludi. Housekeeping.
Clap above your head. Fuck.
You know the
God.
next the
Cheers.
next thing that we keep repeating. You know how we did all the intros? We can keep doing where Matt says this is the worst opening to an episode because this might
Yeah.
be the worst opening to an episode.
If we just keep going downhill, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as we
have
keep going downhill, it will be
we
true
have
every time.
one new patron over at
Oh.
Patreon. It is Hatter.
What's happening today?
Hatter.
It's what?
Hatter.
Hatter.
Like a hat.
Hatter?
Hatter.
Like, the,
Hat.
like
Like a
not the
hat.
Mad Hatter, like his cousin.
No, like a hat.
There's the Mad Hatter,
Hatter.
and there's
Gary
there's,
Hatter.
there's just Hatter.
just Hatter.
Thank
I
you,
keep
Hatter.
my boo in
Thanks.
place.
Thank you,
Because
Hatter.
we gotta
Um,
rate it. So
If
boo.
you all want to give to us like Hatter has here, you beautiful bastard, you go to patreon.com/deludipod. You could also go to our Fourth Wall account, which is
Deluded.com.
Deludi.com. Yes, it is Deludi.com. It's what's running our entire website. There's merch there. There's all sorts of rewards for memberships. The same rewards you get on the Fourth Wall, you still get in the Patreon. No one is getting
Please, dear
anything
God,
different.
someone, please. I spent so
But-
much time on this.
But
It looks
we-
fucking awesome.
please go to deludi.com. And if you're thinking of becoming a member, we're going to recommend becoming a member over at deludi.com rather than Patreon, only because Fourth Wall's UI is a lot better.
Well, we can do
10%
more.
off merch.
Yeah,
And
10% off merch if
do
you're a
be
member.
slapping.
Like you get all
You
sorts
might
of
even
benefits.
get more content over there.
No, it's the same.
Look at that shirt. Look at that shirt.
Yeah,
Matt,
that's a fun new shirt.
Yeah. Look at that shit.
But yeah, that's all I really want to say. We want to kind of keep the housekeeping a little on the quick side today because our topic today is a good one. Now,
it's
for
a
those of you that are
beefy
audio
bitch.
listeners, you're not going to know this segue. But if you're watching on the YouTube, check out this segue. Hold on. Guess what we're talking about today?
Oh my god, he was about. He whipped
Holy
his
shit,
penis
nice.
right out of his pants.
Nice. We're talking
Wham.
about
Wham.
Rebel Without a Cause, the movie.
His wiener is
Now I'm
fully
just
out.
Now I'm just imagining Mike holding his dick, just going wham, wham.
Now, for those of you that are confused, what I just did was
That's how he has a daughter.
I held up a poster
Wham.
of Boulevard of Broken Dreams, by James Dean. You're
Jimothy
probably
Dean.
wondering, Michael, why are you
Jimothy?
talking about Jimmy Dean, not the breakfast guy? This is a different Jimmy Dean,
Not the sausage man.
not Sausage Man. We're talking about James Dean because we're taking ourselves back to the Deanverse, as it's been quoted. We're taking ourselves back to the old President of the United States himself, James Dean. We're
Hell
going back
yes.
to season 3 of the Monument Mythos. Ooh.
And season 2.
We have to cover a little bit of season 2, but
Yeah.
season 3 mainly.
Mon,
Yeah, we jumped the gun.
the myth,
Mon
the
myth.
legend.
The Mon, the Myth, the Legend.
We kind of jumped the
Um,
gun on season 2. To be honest, I think there was a little bit of a break on uploads, and that's why we thought it was safe to cover.
I guess, yeah, there's 3 episodes that we didn't
Yeah.
cover in season 2, which we will go over. I know, we're fucking shame.
I can't take credit for this.
Send us a bag of poop in our P.O. box.
Yeah, and if you go back and want a full blown recap of season 1 and 2.8,
Yeah.
you could do that.
You can go
we'll
back
be
and listen.
here. You can pause and we'll be here. And you could do that.
Or,
yeah.
or you could stay here.
The first episode, like the first 30 minutes, has nothing
yeah.
to do with
Listen to the last
so like last hour.
This was a long fucking time ago, right?
The last 15 seconds of episode 1 are pertinent, and then all of episode 2. But no, yeah, go listen to 1 and 2. But in case you don't want to do that, I guarantee you'll have a good time if you do. But if you don't want to do that, or it's been a minute since you've listened to those and you just need a quick, brief catch up,
Yeah, can you TLDR
Yes.
season 1 and 2 for us?
I'm gonna do my
Just
fucking
2.
best.
We're just gonna recap
Just 2.
2.
Take long drunk
really.
recesses.
Well, that's what that means now. Take really drunk, long drunk recesses.
We don't condone kids, but we condone drunk kids. So
Yeah.
So I can do like the most TLDRist of TLDRs of season 1 if you would like.
If you want to go ahead and do season 1, I'll take season 2.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'd like to hear it, Mike.
So, like I said, this is the most TLDR of all the TLDRs that you're ever going to find of season 1.
Can you draw us a
Mostly
picture,
because I could draw you a picture. Let me do that for you right now.
Doodle.
But reason being is because we have a lot of stuff to cover, so we want to get through it. So, season 1 kind of starts off this mystery around these monuments across the United States and this weird, like, it sets up this weird, strange, like, alternate timeline where back in the 30s, Rockefeller, instead of being this oil tycoon, was president. You have James Dean, who instead of being an actor, went on to become president. You have all these strange differences, and it follows these weird happenstances of different monuments and, like, I
There's
guess
a ship in the Suez Canal that turns out to be a crab.
Yep.
That's the best. That's the most.
that
important
is the
part.
fun one.
Under
But I believe
President
that's
Hillary Clinton.
Giant,
yeah, but
giant crab.
that's season 2.
I'll
though.
talk about
this
that
is
in a
season
sec.
1. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in season 1, you find out about things like Liberty Lurkers, which is like a creature living under the Statue of Liberty. You find out about these spikes that are coming out of Mount Rushmore. You find out about Alcatraz being this like cell that copies and destroys anything it touches.
Copy, paste, delete.
Pretty much. You find out about this Air Force One Angel, this thing that basically took over the Air Force One ship and started going
It's
from
an
Monument.
angel wearing Air Force Ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
It went
Fashionable.
it went from like
Yes.
monument to monument, like graffitiing all these monuments. You'll learn about the Washington Monument and how part of it gets destroyed, and you see this like spire tentacle branch thing come out of it. You figure out all these things, especially these things called canyon crowns, which to sum that up,
Ooh.
are these giant floating heads. We'll get to that in season 2 a little bit, but these giant floating heads that were found in the Grand Canyon. But the main thing that you find out about in season 1 are this thing about the Rockefeller Christmas fiasco, I guess you could say, where Rockefeller was like, I want a big old tree in my Rockefeller
Plaza.
Plaza. Thank you.
Yep.
But not just any tree. It's got to be these things that we found called like special trees, which are as of right now kind of a mystery in what they do. But after years of trying to get one, he gets one and he brings it over to his plaza. This little girl named Virginia goes to put an ornament on it. Shit goes fucky, and she just kind of changes.
She vanishes.
And that's kind of one of the main mysteries that we're left with. You also find out about this statue called the Freedom Statue, which is like this 20-foot woman that's on top of the Capitol building. She comes alive and starts massacring people. It's this whole dang thing, but you find out about all these weird creature-esque things that are happening. It's not until season 2 that we kind of figure out a little bit more backstory on it.
Oh, yeah.
TLDR, lots of different universe where our American monuments are housing prisons
Monsters.
and creatures and weird shit.
Yeah. 100% weird shit.
Season 1 just kind of builds up these fun little stories.
Way more interesting reality.
Yeah,
way more interesting.
Season 2
Not
goes more
better.
in depth into it.
Not better
But more
at
nice.
all, but more
Yeah.
interesting for sure.
So tell us a little bit about season 2. Give us that TLDR.
I got you. Season 2 introduces a whole new organization to the whole narrative, known under the name Maze.
We
Like
call it
corn.
corn now.
We do. We used to.
Aren't they
This is-
different things?
This is gonna be
Technically.
sad, but we used to call it Maze.
I thought corn was like a genetically engineered maize that is
It-
now like
It is,
'Cause-
but we massacred the Native Americans and decided that they didn't deserve to live or have land anymore. So we took all
Blankets
that
are a
from them.
hell of a blanket.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
So anyway, so
wow.
season 2 is all about this this organization Maze, as well as another organization coined as the ADA, which you kind of find out a little bit about in season 1. In season 1, it's known as the Anti-Dean Association.
Bunch of
And
people that hate on my boy President
Yeah.
Dean.
They just hate
Fucking
him.
commies.
And in season 1, it looks like they're just dissenting for the sake of dissenting. However, in season 2, we kind of figure out why they don't like President Dean. And they shift from the Anti-Dean Association to the Anti-Device Association. They make their I don't know, their goal more known, I guess. And you find out that they actually have something to do with this special tree, and you figure out that one of the things that they're obsessed with is something called this horned serpent. And you see that concept get introduced in season 2. Season 2 seems to be all about either introducing or preventing the horned serpent from actually entering this universe. And at the end of this season, you end up seeing more of the story that Mike was just talking about with Virginia. Some of the stuff in between, though, however, I'm sorry, I forgot this. You learn all about Giza glass, which is the super important ancient, like, glass that's been around forever, and it's got these mystical properties to it. Most notably being, if you cut somebody's head off, their head keeps living.
And it
Same
gets
happens
big.
with arms,
gets
limbs.
big.
Yeah, it gets
They're
huge.
called canyon crowns.
Yes, they're called crowns or canyon crowns.
Which is
but
it
It
for
doesn't
season 1.
damage things. It just
Yes.
moves them
It
apart.
Correct. It separates them and then prolongs their life. And we find out this is the reason that the Freedom Statue is actually alive, is because the creator put both himself and, I mean, to be fair, it was mostly just his daughter's skin in there, but it was his daughter, more or less. It's an amalgamation of the creator of the statue and his daughter mashed inside this statue that were cut apart, torn apart by Giza glass, and are now just immortal. And supposedly they were supposed to watch over the freedoms of America, which is why it was called the Freedom Statue.
And the
However,
government-
January 6th happened.
Anyway,
And the
So
government
January
decided
Not
to
in this
use-
timeline.
Different timeline. It was a different January 6th. But essentially a group of a coup was staged to try to overthrow the democratic process in America.
Cool.
During that time, the Freedom Statue was actually shot down, and so once it got dislodged and was free, it could actually start to move on its own accord, and that's when it ended up going to the Grand Canyon.
Yep, the government was like, we're gonna take it
Yeah.
and move
Yeah.
it to the Grand Canyon as like a watcher and protector
Yes, a
of
watcher and a
things-
protector.
of things that could be in said Grand Canyon.
Yes, one of the things you're going to notice with the Monument Mythos is something known as Dr. Disturbing. That's going to come up a bunch. I think there's 17 total installments over the course of 3 seasons, minus the next verse. But this is it's like a slow drip of information from
Bad drip.
Yeah, bad drip. We're not going back there. We can't. But yeah, essentially, so Dr. Disturbing divulges the aftermath of the Arnoldsons' trip to the Grand Canyon. And now if you
We'll
remember,
put a lot of who's who
Yes.
when we start going over the episodes.
remember the Arnoldsons, they have everything to do with everything. It's basically, they're essentially
And
what
the Freedom
story's about.
Statue.
Freedom Statue and Arnoldsons are, they're tied together and they're very important.
One of the important things to note about season 2 as well is we find out that the Anti-Dean Association hijacked like these like tornado siren-esque things. They deafened a bunch of people. James Dean
Yep.
was like, "You all fucking suck. So
Oh,
we're gonna take you
that
to
was,
the monuments."
Dean
as-
Disaster.
Yeah, he's like, "You guys
Yeah.
suck."
they
Dean-
all go off at the same time.
Yeah,
And
Dean
everybody
Disaster-
goes
kinda
deaf.
sucked.
That's right. They go
Everyone-
deaf and they're like, cochlear
Everyone-
implants for everybody.
They're like, everyone sucks.
Yeah, and America cures deafness. is
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
But it also
It only
leads
takes everyone
into-
going deaf to cure deafness.
It also leads into a hint towards what's
What's
going
coming.
on
Yeah.
with the monuments, because it also shows that President Dean had the citizens of the United States corral a bunch of the Anti-Dean Association people, and they took
Yep.
them to the Liberty Monument and a bunch of other monuments as a rehab center. Rehab center where they said they went in as shitty people and they
And came out different.
entirely
So
different.
different.
Are we at the point where we can start going over our
Not yet.
episodes?
Real quick.
Okay.
And then normal people are like, "Can we go there too?"
And he's like, no.
He was like, "No, we
No.
don't have enough space."
And also, we're framing you for murder.
Sick John Mulaney reference.
That is a John Mulaney reference. So yes, so after this Dean Disaster video is where we learn all about the Giza glass and what it does. That's very important for later. We learn all about the Air Force One Angel, which essentially ties together the Angel in this story with Air Force One, the plane, who's been flying over all the monuments, dropping something. We find out that they're actually they're feeding the monuments is what they end up discovering, and we don't really know what that means at this point. And then we get to a video. So I've said this to Doug, I think 1,000 times today, I'm sure.
Air Force One.
My favorite fucking video in season 2 was Washington Wonderland. And that's because this video probably has the most amount of relevant information in it.
Mhm.
And this is something you guys need to pay attention to. This,
Yes, sir.
It stars Virginia Arnoldson, which you guys should know is Tom Arnoldson's daughter.
Virginia.
Yeah, this story is all about the Arnoldsons. They're heavily involved with this. So it's all about Virginia. And she ends up recounting her childhood story of going to the special tree at the Rockefeller Center. And the first time we hear this story, it gets cut off because she forgets. Now we get the rest of the story because she got lobotomized. And that, I mean,
Bring
that's
back lobotomies 2023.
that's fucked up by itself, but her memory comes back and she starts to remember exactly what happened, and she recounts her time in this place called her Wonderland, or what she calls her Wonderland. And it's just infinite spectral trees
Her
up and
special
down.
place.
Yes.
Oh no. This has a different meaning. Everything I knew about this changed.
And so she goes over her time there, and she says it lasted like thousands of years, but eventually she was able to return to a regular universe. And when she does that, she just feels strange. And now we understand that Virginia is kind of like the new protagonist.
Yeah, I think she
for
mentioned
season
at one
2.
point that she came back and was like, my family's different, my friends are different,
Yeah.
things are different.
And we
And
will
guess
go
what?
over that soon.
And guess what? That's the last fucking video we covered on our part 2, season 2 of the Monument Mythos. We missed the last 3 videos because we thought that was it. And here we are. So do we want to play catch up real quick?
That wasn't it.
That
Yes.
wasn't it.
It was at this moment.
Okay.
They knew they fucked up.
All
Play
right,
some
well,
catch up.
let's play some fucking catch up. So
And some relish.
And
right off the
mystery.
bat, the last video that we left off with was Washington Wonderland. And that goes over Virginia and her time in something called Wonderland, and she meets someone named Everett in there, and they talk, and she talks about being pregnant, and then when she gets to Wonderland, she's not pregnant anymore. So moving right along to the next video, it's called Air Force Fallen Angel, and it's about 5 minutes and 16 seconds long. The first thing you see is like this, it's like a military like scope, like for watching airstrikes. Like it's like a telescopic lens that the military uses to basically survey the world. And it says simulation of strike, property of Maze, which you all should remember. And it kind of looks like this military tracking system is following a bird at first, but then you realize what it's tracking, and it's locked onto Air Force One. It's a plane, and they make it very apparent that this is Air Force One that you're watching. And so it watches this plane make stops over a bunch of monuments, and it says, so Air Force One has made stops over all the monuments. Watching this hazard activity and then watching Air Force One enter the restricted airspace above Washington, D.C. set off alarm bells for the U.S. government. So once that happened, once it entered the restricted airspace, apparently the U.S. government made the decision to just fucking get rid of it, shoot it down. Like, this isn't supposed to be here. Something's wrong. Let's just shoot down the plane. So they do. And again, remember, this is called Air Force One Fallen Angel. The title of this is very important.
Sounds like an Xbox Live gamer tag.
It kind of does. I wonder if we can find someone.
Yeah.
If you're
I'm
gamer
13
tag,
years old. I like Air Force One.
and I
this-
say the N word unrestrictedly on Xbox Live.
Is this the third
I love God.
movie? Is this the third movie in the trilogy of Olympus Has Fallen, London Has Fallen,
Yes.
and Air Force One
Air
has
Force
fallen?
One has fallen. This is the third installment. So we see Air Force One get blown up by the U.S. Just the air defense system. After that, it shows mission accomplished. The United Zones of America.
We got them, boys.
United Zones of America.
got 'em.
Have we seen that yet? This is brand
A
new,
little
right?
bit. I don't.
It's
we've
touched
seen-
on.
we've seen the
in,
map.
Okay.
It's
okay.
yeah, it's touched on in the Alcatraz.
Yeah. Yes.
Episode.
And we saw the map and we saw the fallout of what happened with what we want to call is the division at this point.
Great
we
Division.
won't learn about that until we get into season 3 a little bit.
Much
but
later.
we're just, since we're doing it this episode, we're going to call it the division.
The Great Division.
Okay.
I'm very happy
Fair.
for you, Mike. I wish I was having as much fun as you are right now.
He's found a special interest. Don't take this from him.
I can't.
I
would
won't
never.
lie. It's been a while since I felt like super passionate about an episode that we've done.
This one.
Right.
I've this one's always been a little special to me because they nailed it. They hit the nail on the head when it comes to analog horror. So
Oh.
I fucking love this one.
Yeah.
Yep. We can talk about
We
that
will,
at the end
we
for
will
sure.
suck
'cause
Alex's
we all-
dick at the very end of this episode.
We got some choice words for analog horror, I'm sure. But yeah, anyways.
100%. So yeah, anyway. So after this is all shown, we go to this map that shows the 3 zones of the United Zones of America. And we see them as Alcatraz, Rushmore, and Washington as the different zones. And then it pops up with their respective capitals, which are Ash Waste, Paha Spa, and
Ooh.
Nakachunk.
Nailed it.
Easy.
That sounded racially charged.
It's
I don't know what that meant, but it made me uncomfortable.
It's NAC.
Can you bleep that in post? All right.
It's NACOTCHTANK. Not chunk.
Nope, you can't
Well, you
say
can't-
that.
well,
Right,
you-
sorry.
Gotten better.
Quick,
There we go.
Matt,
Is that
Matt,
better?
Pull the plug. Put up the hang in
Episode
there,
done.
baby.
Episode done.
So after we get informed about these zones of America and their capitals and like why they're here, we get a little bit of information about the ADA. And so up until the beginning of season 2, the ADA was known as the Anti-Dean Association. Season 2 changed that to the Anti-Device Association, and
Yeah,
they
'cause
kind
they
of
hate those-
expound. They hate them.
They hate those maze computers and the T
They
machines.
well, that's why there's so much violence against the Maze
Yeah.
Corporation. Like
T
that's,
machines
that's
is-
Doodle do.
Yeah.
the ADA is very standoffish when it comes to this.
They find out that the reason they go to anti-device is mostly because they find out with the creation of those maze machines that anything digital attracts these giant monsters to just attacking America.
Yep.
They're like, fuck digital equipment. Get rid of your T machine, which is just a Twitter device.
Digital.
Oh,
It's
100%.
Twitter
It's,
pager.
yeah, it's a Twitter pager, and they're like, get
Oh,
rid of
no,
that.
the Twitter machine. Right, the
Yeah.
Twitter
Yeah,
machines.
T
Holy
machine.
shit, I forgot about that. Yeah.
You can't say digital without me thinking of digital, dancing.
Yep. Wow,
Did
this
you
is
guys-
fun.
Did you guys catch the "Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared" reference in the or snippet in the last episode?
Mm-mm.
I
I
did.
haven't listened fully.
I
yet.
heard your. I did catch that.
I was proud of
Yes.
that one.
You should keep doing things like that because that was fantastic. I appreciate you, Matt. I just want to take a second
Thank you. I
to
appreciate all
say
of
that.
you.
Well, you don't have to say that. You don't have to lie to us.
Okay. I'll keep my thoughts to myself.
Please stop.
So after we find out these zones, we get the capitals, which I just went over as well. And after this, we get some text up on screen, and it's short enough. I'm just gonna read it verbatim. Here's what it says: Al Gore's America is a shell for the true ruler beneath our feet. It is time for the underground god to leave. He does not belong here, but the world egg cannot hatch without force. We must fracture the zones ourselves. We must split the earth open. Once it leaves, there will be peace and a state for each and every person. No more zones, for the cracks will be the true borders. 1,000 states of America are 1,000 states of peace.
Egg.
So this went
Egg.
full cult real fast. Just
Also,
real fucking fast.
I guess we should mention as well. There's a bunch of time jumps. This place takes place roughly around
Yeah.
like 2003-ish, when instead of Bush becoming president, Gore did.
Yes, exactly. And there's going to be a bunch of different jumps. Like, as this is told, I mean, it's mostly a linear story, but a lot of the different pieces of the story are told a bit out of order, chronologically anyway. But honestly, that doesn't matter at all. And you guys will see why by the end of this episode, I hope. If you don't, that means we didn't do our job. So after
You shouldn't rule out the possibility that I'm just an idiot.
I'm not going to, but Matt, I have faith. I have faith. I think that we're so passionate about this topic right now that I think we're going to do it justice. And plus, I had a shit day, so something has to go right. Like, fucking please. So after this, we go into more about the ADA, and it goes from the Anti-Device Administration, like I said, and now they dub themselves the Advocates for the Division of America.
Boo.
Which, if I'm being honest, that's too topical. That's way too topical for what's happening right now in the world, but we're not going to go into that. So we go on to learn that the unification of 1980 eventually turned the United States of America into 3 separate zones, which were finalized in 2003. Remember both of those dates, as they are very fucking important. At the very end of this video, we get an image of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, which, again, remember the Unknown Soldier? That's very important. But above the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, we get something dubbed as, quote unquote, the Air Force One Angel. And
Which was made reference to in season 1.
it was. And now we're kind of seeing what actually was happening with Air Force One. And like, we're kind of understanding that it wasn't just carrying like the president and his cabinet. Like that's not what's happening here. There's a reason it got shot down over DC. There's a reason that this thing is called the Air Force One Fallen Angel, and we will get there, I promise. But I cannot give it away now, even though I want to so fucking badly.
You should spoil it.
But the next video we see in season 2, the very end of season 2, what do you got, Doug?
We've got Liberty Lurkers. Now, there is an episode that is entitled Liberty Lurker, but now we've got the Liberty Lurkers episode. And this episode
Plurals.
is pretty batshit crazy as it is, but we start the video with a video, or you see the Statue of Progress, which is a sculpture at the entryway of the Suez Canal in Egypt. So this statue was created by a man named Frederick August Bartholdi, who would later design the Statue of Liberty, which is huge in this series if you've followed us through so far. So it cuts to an interview of the creator of the Suez Canal, Ferdinand de Lesseps. I'm sure I'm butchering that name, but I don't speak French, so I don't care. So in short, he basically in this interview that we hear him speaking, and in short, basically he reads the script that he wrote for the opening of this canal. Now, to be a little meta, this is the speech that he actually did in our timeline, like in IRL here for us.
Oh yeah, no, this is legit just the speech.
But in the Deanverse, he actually never ends up reading that script during the opening, and he says that he didn't have the heart to do so. He basically ended up saying a whole bunch of other stuff and didn't actually read the script that was wrote. Yeah, exactly. So he basically says he never meant to build this canal, but the man underneath America ordered him to do so. He goes on to say that he can sink into his dreams whenever he wants. And that's a very cryptic thing, because basically what they're showing is this old-ass interview with zero context. Like, you're just listening to someone's interview, and you have to kind of take his words as whatever you can formulate from them, right? So we hear this little snippet, and then it cuts to what looks like some sort of story, animated story. It's called The Sinking Man and the Forbidden Fruit from the Book of Ferdinand, 29:3. Now, obviously, I just told you who Ferdinand was.
The Sinking Man and the Forbidden Fruit. I just got that reference to what that is. That's funny.
Yeah, I love this. I love when we do these episodes and we start like connecting things
in real time.
It's
great.
It's great. Okay, so it does say that this was produced by the Advocates for the Division of America, which we now know is the new name for the ADA.
It's from season 1, Anti-Dean Administration or Association.
So, when this video starts playing, you see
they're
the
pulling
outline.
a real Facebook. I'm sorry, but they're just like rebrand. We're meta now.
100%.
You mean Twitter? Anyways,
that too.
So
I think so. Quick, just point there, and honestly, thank you for bringing that up, Mike. I think what they meant for us to realize is that this association has been around for fucking ever, and they just keep rebranding based on what current events are going on around them.
What they can use for their agenda.
Exactly.
Agenda.
I think that's the implication here.
James,
I hope in season 4 the T machines become X machines.
They have to at this point, right?
that would be
No,
amazing.
No,
it's
they'll do
called
some-
X videos.
They'll do some cheeky shit and do it like Y machines or something like that.
Yeah.
They should just call them Z-bots.
Yeah. Yep.
Z-bots.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Niche toy reference from my childhood. Anyways, okay, so in this video, you see the outline of George Washington, and it's kind of a crude animation, but he's basically circling this tree. And if you know anything about fucking George Washington, there's a very old wives' tale that says he cut down a tree, and his father was like, "Yo, bitch, you do this?" And he's like, "Nah, bitch, I did do it though."
Because I can't
He-
lie.
My bad.
Bitch. He basically said, I can chop down a
So
cherry
much better
tree.
than you.
I know all the words to Dave.
I can chop anything better than you.
So yeah, so
He could ride
basically,
his bike with no handlebars. I got you. I'm there. I got your reference.
This is,
I'm
I don't
gonna
know
get us
why.
back on topic. I swear.
Nope, you're not. because this is reminding me so very hard of that one little excerpt from Mother Horse Eyes about Demon Penis Land.
Oh,
about
no,
chopping
don't.
trees down.
Stop.
For a split second, I was like, "Oh, is this where the demon penis land thing came from?" Because I forgot
Right?
it was from Mother Horse Eyes, not this.
Right.
Oh, yeah, the
That's-
demon penis. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna make like it's just like the demon penises, and then I
George
realized
Washington and the demon penis. It's
that
like,
wouldn't make any sense.
if you haven't read that
Metal
fable,
band.
Hell yeah.
I don't want to chop down the demon penis tree.
If
oh no.
if Deludi ever makes a metal band, it's gonna be called George Washington the Demon Penis Trees. 100%.
All right, reeling us back in here. So we see the outline of George Washington walking around a tree with an axe, and he's circling it for a while, and then after circling it some more, he begins to plunge into darkness. But he ends up falling right back to the same tree he was. So essentially, when you see it, he's upright and then starts falling in reverse to the same tree. If this will make a little more sense a little later.
Yeah.
But the video is pretty unsettling and it's really short, and not a whole lot happens in it. But what you do see is when he starts falling from the tree, when he gets back to the second tree, we'll call it, he actually starts to stretch and stretch and stretch, and there's a bunch of fucking trees. And this is going to become really important later on. I can't say it right now, but this will become important later on into the episode. So we have to assume that if he is cutting one of these special trees, we can only assume that he was teleported to the same place that, Virginia might have been in.
Oh yeah.
And we know that she said that the trees look like they go on for infinity and that they were upright and upside down and reflected and literally just went on and on and on and on. So we can really, really assume that this is what happened to George Washington. So after this, we cut back to the Statue of Progress that we saw at the beginning of the video. And then this text comes on screen and it says, "It was believed that the recordings of the infamous 1889 Liberty Lurker interview with Frederick Bartholdi were faked by American publicists who
Yes,
were known as the Liberty Liars."
I forgot about this.
Yeah, right. And so it goes on to say that there's one recording that continues to be disputed, which they then cut to. And it starts with Frederick mentioning that he lost sleep. So it's an interview, this video. And it starts with Frederick mentioning that he lost sleep and gained gray hairs because of his building of the pedestal. Now, when he refers to the pedestal, he's talking about the pedestal that the Statue of Liberty sits on top of. Now, it was intended to be a gift, but he was basically ordered by President Grant at the time to pretty much do whatever the fuck he said. And basically, over the next 4 years or so, President Grant kept giving Frederick like size increasing increments for this pedestal. So they couldn't agree on a size to fully build until 4 years, and they finally were like, all right, this is the size that we need. And he mentions that people always ask, why is it so disproportionate? Like, why is the statue so small compared to the pedestal that it sits on? And he would say, ask the Americans.
Ask the Americans. Yep.
But he knew the
I
truth.
like cuz better.
Cuz. Mind your fucking business.
You fucking figure it out.
We like it this way.
But he knows the truth of why the pedestal was so fucked up. And
Because he's not a good architect. He's just playing
he's
it
like,
off.
we fucked up for sure, bro.
But no,
like,
it's supposed
these are
to be
not
like this.
anywhere near it. So yeah, basically, he goes on to say that he just couldn't tell him the truth, and that he ended up designing an abattoir, which translates to slaughterhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And
Don't use
for
big
him,
words at me.
so after he designed this abattoir, basically he goes on to say that Grant said he used to be normal like
Wow.
us.
Wow. Zowie. Sorry.
Shut
go
the
ahead.
fuck up. There's too many cuts tonight for that shit, Mike. So he said Grant
Look at
said he
me.
used to be
Look at
normal.
me.
Oh,
Hands in the air. It's good to be-
Go ahead.
no. I refuse. Anyways, so Frederick says, Grant said he used to be normal like us. He called him the Horned Serpent, or I'm going to butcher this, the Hanadaganiers. Or, in other words, the Devourer of Villages, which was a nickname that was given to George Washington by the Iroquois.
Mm-hmm.
We can now assume that this is the man under America. We have been told now that George Washington is the Devourer of Villages. He basically was called out by Grant as the Horned Serpent.
Mm-hmm.
But
And you're
we
probably
don't know.
like, hey, how is that possible when in season 2 they also mentioned how they found George Washington frozen in the Delaware River?
Correct.
Weird. If you remember, well, go ahead, Doug. I'll let you.
I have the answer to that,
I'll let you.
but
No,
I
don't
won't.
let him finish.
I won't say it yet.
Well, you see, the Lemurians, they showed up.
And Atlantis. All right, so basically he finishes by saying the damned founding fathers locked up in my foundation. And that's like the biggest part of what this whole little interview is. And he's like, all right, like we have a lot of context now on a couple different things, but we don't have all the pieces quite yet. So after you hear this interview, we cut to text that says 1985, following the release of the Liberty Lurker, Cathanauts surveyed the land beneath the Statue of Liberty and recorded the video of the horned serpent inside, colloquially known as Wonderland. So the video that they show after this basically it depicts a bunch of special trees inside the base of the Statue of Liberty that go on for infinity, that is exactly the way that Virginia described it in her recount in the video right before Jason's video. And we can only assume that now, from here on out, underneath the Statue of Liberty, whenever you see these trees for infinity, this is called Wonderland.
Yep.
And that's where this video ends.
So we've now dubbed what Wonderland is and what exists beneath America, which is honestly shocking as fuck, but also it's pretty fucking cool. So from this, we go to another video. This is the last video in season 2, and this one's called Alcatraz Apocalypse. This one's actually divided. This is such a good video. This is fantastic. This is probably my second favorite in season 2. First one being Washington Wonderland, simply because of how much information it gives you without telling you about it. But either way, so Alcatraz Apocalypse. This is actually, it's divided into 5 separate parts. It's got parts 1 through 5. Part 1 is the final upload of Dr. Disturbing. And it actually explores the fate of Dr. Disturbing. It's part 17, which is the final part in his 17-part series. And it's an ongoing series known as Dad's Favorite Things. This episode, it kind of it shows a bunch of paintings. There's 3 separate paintings, and it says it's Dad's 3 favorite paintings. The first one is The Apotheosis of Washington by Constantino Bermidi. The second one is The Road to Happiness by James Dean. And the last one is Together by Virginia Arnoldson, when she was very young. Yeah, I know.
Are you gonna go over what the paintings look like?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So the first one, The Apotheosis of Washington, is like this. It's incredibly well done. It looks like something you might find on like adorning the entire ceiling of a cathedral somewhere. Like it's essentially at the
It's
top
like if
row,
George
you see a bunch
Washington
of
was Jesus.
Well, I was gonna save that, but yeah, let's rip the Band-Aid off. So it shows this scene, and at the top you see a bunch of angels, kind of like sitting on their thrones on high, and below you see what looks kind of like a struggle happening between a bunch of different. I mean, at this point we kind of just determined to be men, except for one thing in the painting, kind of looks like it might be levitating or floating, which should give you an idea of what it's referencing. But the weirdest thing and the most important thing about this painting is the very top in the middle. You see George Washington sitting kind of in the center of this like congregation of angels holding a dagger pointing straight down. And this is essentially supposed to allude to the fact that George Washington is A, not human, and B, not exactly angelic either. And that's the upside down dagger is kind of what signifies that there. The second painting we see is, again, it's called Road to Happiness, and this is by President James Dean.
It's funny because he actually painted this IRL.
Yeah, no, this is a real fucking painting that you can find that James Dean in this universe has painted. And it's a very colorful backdrop, and it looks like a bunch of very spindly, tall trees, like almost like what looks like is happening in Wonderland. It's super cool that they were able to incorporate some real world media from some actual famous people. Like, that's super awesome. I love it. The last
That's
one,
because this is real, Jason.
it is right. I forget. Sometimes on this podcast we blur those lines, and
This is a
today
historical.
It's not clear
recount.
anymore.
it's not clear. I'm living in a Wonderland.
Living in Matt's driveway.
Probably. The very last one is named Together, and this is by Virginia Arnoldson, and you've heard us talk about her. She was basically the star of the video for Washington Wonderland. We heard about how her trip to Wonderland and what happened. And this is it's like a kid's painting. It's like something you would make in 3rd grade to bring home to your parents and say, like, look, I painted our family. And the very last message you see is it's just it's a very subtle message, and it just says, I hope I see you soon, Dad. I'm going to say this now. Matt, that was the perfect time for me to look over. I will say that, so the creator, Alex Casanas, did lose his father. And you're going to see different notes throughout this entire series, at least after
that sucks.
his father passed. You're going to see different notes from him, like either to his dad or just for his dad. And it's super heartwarming. It's very touching. So I think that's what this is referencing. Video then goes on to say that 3 days after the upload, Lauren and Quinn Arnoldson's remains were found in the Grand Canyon. They were last seen riding, quote unquote, astonishingly large balloons, which I hope to be described in that fashion at some point in my life. If I have a giant balloon, I'm riding that shit everywhere. Apparently both balloons encountered a very, very strong unexpected crosswind, causing both of the Arnoldson children to fall to their deaths. And that's the end of part 1. Part 2 is the last broadcast of the New Delaware Journal. If you guys remember, the New Delaware Journal is
Howard Melrose.
Yeah, more or less. It's been around forever. It goes under different names, but essentially it's just a surviving offshoot of some of the more prominent names you're going to hear, like the ADA. But Howard Melrose was a large part of this. So anyway,
Pretty much like a whistleblower.
and
this
is exactly where you find out that Howard Melrose is in fact a whistleblower, because the entirety of, or I'm sorry, not Melrose, Leonard Moreland. This is Leonard Moreland. Basically blows the whistle on everything that's happening right now. And honestly, I'm just going to read all the narration that happens here. I'm just going to read out loud. So here's what it says. By the time you see this, I will be dead. I would like you to know that the Anti-Device Association held me captive for years. They forced me to read their scripts to hand them legitimacy. You have heard me read about Lincoln Lookers and the Starry Sphinx. Those were their words in my mouth. But they did not keep as close an eye on me as they should have. Whenever I visited my family, I went to my studio underground. I was able to read my scripts through the New Delaware Journal. The feds and the association thought as an Arnoldson ran the station. But I had no crew. I was a one-man operation. Only I read. Only I broadcasted. This is the last script. This is the last broadcast. 3 nights before my death, Alcatraz went stealth. It looked like it had completely disappeared while everyone was asleep, but it was still here. It was all around us. It had simply expanded imperceptibly fast. It mimicked the surrounding environment on a subatomic level. Everyone believed that it had not spread to the East Coast yet, but it definitely did. I have just finished the last batch of tests, and I can confidently say that I am not the same person as I was 3 days ago. Alcatraz has copied us all overnight. Every particle of this country and its citizens replaced. The United States is the ship of Theseus. Inside my skull is the Alcatraz's fleshy reproduction of my brain. I remember a line from President Dean. If we sent everyone to prison, then what's a prison anymore? If everyone becomes a prison, then what's a person anymore? I will not live with a copy of myself. Better to extinguish myself now than to live a lifetime as something else's handiwork. I heard fire does the trick. Maybe I will see you in the next life. Remember me. For Everett, for Virginia, for America. Leonard W. Moreland.
If you take a horse,
Shut the fuck up.
And you grind it down, and you put it in
The
a
Statue
mold.
of Liberty is glue.
Yes. But yeah, no, there's a lot to unpack here. This is a whistleblower, somebody who's inside and involved, and they're essentially saying like, "Hey, fuckers, open your goddamn eyes. You're not you. No
you've
one
been
is them.
assimilated.
Everybody is copies because of this bullshit that's been happening on Alcatraz, and everyone thinks that it's just kind of contained. In reality, nope. You're all copies. On a subatomic level, you are copies.
That's
So after we
nuts.
see, it's fucking that. If that doesn't cause an existential crisis in you, I don't know what will.
Did they mention if
Nihilists,
it was?
man.
Did they mention it was
Nihilists.
just America, or was the whole world that was taken over overnight? I don't remember.
They did not mention it. All they said is that Alcatraz has expanded rapidly and imperceptibly to where whoever is reading and receiving this are all trapped inside it and are
So,
now copies.
I
would
think we can
assume the whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we
we-
can assume that Earth was now copied.
It's just a copy.
I
Yep.
mean, based on all the information we have so far, I can only assume that this entire planet in this reality is America and George Washington is Jesus, except for France, which is one guy that built the Statue of Liberty.
Mhm.
You know, I think we should have you teach the next generation coming up. I think they
Hell
do
yeah.
well if you imparted that information on them.
Did you know that 54% of American adults read it under a 6th grade level?
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
there's a lot of
I learned that this week.
dude. There's a lot of terrible, shocking news about Americans. Oh man, I'm so sad to be one.
Anyhow.
Anyway, so after this this excerpt from Leonard Moreland, it's kind of revealed that the Lincoln Looker and Starry Sphinx that he was talking about was all literally just made up by the ADA. Like that doesn't fucking exist. So those videos and everything pertaining to them, let's go back to season 2, guys. You remember that time? Remember how they just said like, "Hey, this is real," and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, by the way, this is fake. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't matter." Hey, we're doing more of that shit. So everything that you saw in Lincoln Looker and Starry Sphinx is all just fucking made up. It's all fake. None of it's real. None of it's canon. So remember that. So after we learn this, we see it goes to a picture of Leonard Moreland's face, and he's smiling, and it's like the last moment, because right after this he lights himself on fire and kills himself. Sorry. After this fades out, we get the very last text of the video. It says victory or death. And that's shown, and there's a bunch more text that basically says that Cathonaut A will receive data and will present it to the viewers in a theatrical manner. Cathonaut A will also arrive in our world after the apocalypse happens, which is roughly February 22nd, I think.
2022.
2022, yes. And That's-
222,
that is-
222.
let's call that Universe A or Universe Prime. Because
The
that's
Deanverse.
the Deanverse. We'll call that's the Deanverse. But in the
Universe
Our
Plus.
verse, that happens in 2016.
You have to pay $10 a month for Universe Plus, man.
Perfect.
Yes.
To save your spot.
Knock, knock, open up the door. It's real. Sorry. Please continue.
So at the end of this video, we see that the authorities have kind of concluded that Leonard Moreland experienced a violent psychotic break before committing self-immolation. And that's kind of the official story that goes along with
That's
this.
way cooler than suicide.
It's like those monks that for the sake of peace, lit themselves on fire.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of that protest, but I'm sure we all
we
know.
can get some cool Rage Against the Machine album covers from that.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. So on to part 3. This is called the Angels Ultimatum. So in this one, the Lincoln Memorial is vandalized with the following text. It says, "The advocates were deranged. They are all ashes now. We will never be weapons again. Leave us alone or join the ash pile." Wow. That's fucking rude, but all right. So from the text, it's kind of presumed that the Air Force One Angel wrote this, the one that was kind of flying over all the monuments, dropping off whatever.
He's the one that did Mount Rushmore.
Exactly.
And all the other places.
The graffiti itself kind of indicates that the advocates claimed that the angel was on their side. However, turns out the angel might not actually be with the ADA, even though, I mean, we've seen what the picture of the Tomb of the Fallen Soldier, like the unknown soldier. Like, there's so many different references about the angel being on the ADA side. We're now kind of finding out that maybe that's not the case, and maybe the ADA is kind of assuming that the angel's on their side and using the angel as like a figurehead. So after this, we basically see that after they determine that the angel's not on their side, the angel gets hunted down. The angel doesn't get hunted down. The angel hunts down basically every advocate, every member of the advocates. What did they change their fucking name to at this point? It's not the anti-device. It's the
Anti-division.
Advocates for the Division of America. That's right. So the angel goes on a fucking hunting spree, and decides to neutralize them. Despite wanting to be left alone, the government eventually found the location of the angel to be in the Babylon Forest. This is a giant location, guys. Remember the Babylon Forest. It's got a lot of information to it, and it tells a lot. But it took 2 fucking decades to find the angel after it disappeared, and they found it in the Babylon Forest. Part
Wow, get
4.
Get wrecked, GG.
get good. If that'd been a missing kid,
Oh, yeah.
would have been like 2 weeks.
If this was an Amber Alert, like, oh.
Could have put
yeesh.
the angel in a milk carton.
No, milk carton kids went to red rooms. Oh. Anyway, so part 4. It's called Operation Thunderbird. This is like shitty 3D animation at its finest. And it shows it's this animation created by the Department of Technology, and it's to showcase their new Operation Thunderbird. And essentially, this talks about how they plan on trapping the angel. The animation begins in the Grand Canyon, and it's basically shows they're going to set up 2 androids making a bunch of erratic sounds and noises and movements, and they're going to jump up and down, and they're essentially going to attract freedom to the Grand Canyon. Once that happens, we don't know what those are yet, do we? Oh, no, we don't. Fuck, I can't say. Essentially, it goes over their method of trapping the angel. They're going to show 2 androids, and it shows these 3 white spikes sticking up out of the ground, and I forget what they refer to them as.
They're special trees.
Do they refer to them as special trees?
They are special trees.
Okay. So they say they're going to basically take 3 special trees or several special trees and put them near these androids. And when the androids attract freedom's going to come down and try to figure out what's going on. When that happens, the trees are going to bend, and they're going to basically let loose this electrical discharge that is going to trap
So
freedom.
basically, when the trees bend like that, if you were a normal person,
You're fine.
it would teleport you to Wonderland. That's
what are these called?
the lightning would go off and you'd be teleported to Wonderland.
And this is how Virginia got to Wonderland in the first place.
Correct. But because like the angel and freedom aren't really following the same guidelines as normal regular
They're
humans,
immortal now.
I'm sure you're going to cover this in a second here, but when it goes off, it does something different to freedom.
Yes, it does. So, as illustrated by this video, instead of sending freedom to Wonderland, which honestly would be the fucking worst thing in the entire world if that happened, it essentially... So, okay. I'm going to clear one thing up. These white things are called false children. Or no, they're called false children. And their purpose is they've been sprouting up on Earth, and no one really knows what it was. They are a symptom of Wonderland existing beneath our feet and us not really knowing about it. So the false children will bend over and they release lightning in all directions. And essentially this covers the diagram they show. It basically just shows this giant white light that comes up. And essentially what's happening is the energy from the false children are reacting with something that they coin an IPC, or an invisible particle cloud. And this is also known as Giza gas. And so if you guys remember us talking about Giza glass, it's essentially what makes people immortal. It's got all of these mystical properties to it. If you turn it into a gaseous form, or you turn the particles small enough to be basically aerosolized.
Basically, if Giza glass was crystal meth and you smoked it.
100%. Yeah. If you smoke Giza glass
trippy, bro.
like meth,
Okay.
essentially what will happen is it will trap freedom in this like pyramid of Giza glass, and it's a timed release. So apparently a very
an
high-tech
Advil.
helicopter.
Like an Adderall.
Yeah. A very high-tech helicopter / stealth bomber shows up.
Yeah.
And it's gonna like grab it and take it to the Babylon forest. And it says when it drops it in the Babylon forest, it's designed to release freedom after a certain amount of time. And their goal is to release freedom into the Babylon forest, where they saw the angel go. And they want freedom to chase down and essentially assassinate the angel.
The government straight up did a Godzilla versus Kong, let them fight meme.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
100%. So this happens, gets sent to the Babylon forest. Freedom does eventually encounter the angel, runs towards the angel, sword in hand. And the last thing you see is just like this really bright white light, and it almost looks like Freedom gets hit by this bolt of lightning. At least that's what you think is happening.
Lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt. But essentially what they'd hoped is to happen is mutually assured destruction. Not only will we get rid of this problem that is the angel, we will also get rid of this problem that is freedom, which, if you haven't caught on yet, nobody in America wants either of these things here.
You can't destroy
We don't want
freedom.
Just the government sticking their nose where it don't
just
belong.
get it out. And so they want to basically destroy both the angel and freedom. And this is
Where were you
okay, where were
when
you?
angels destroyed freedom?
Where were you?
Last video, guys, or last part of this video. I'm so sorry this is taking so long. Part 5 has no title. The has no name. The only thing shown is a warning for post-implant viewers. This should remind you of the Dean disaster video when he went to go fix all of the sirens and then got implants to fix their hearing. So if you have one of these implants, please be careful.
Take it out.
Take it out, put it up your ass, and you'll feel great.
You're out your butt.
I hope that's how evolution works.
I have butt ears.
Can you milk me?
If you
Can you milk
if
me?
you rub your butt cheeks together, you can hear really well.
I hate you, Doug. So anyway, part 5. This video shows a view of the Earth from space at a very far distance. It's kept up just like that for a second. You see this bright flash. And as the camera kind of comes into focus, you see like this huge appendage that looks kind of like a tentacle, or maybe a special tree.
Spatial tree.
Maybe one of those, who knows? Comes out of the earth before another huge bright flash occurs. After the flash, we see an environment similar. Do you guys remember the Corner World? Remember season 1?
Corn folk.
Yeah, Corner Folk coming right the fuck back. Looks,
Sorry, it just hit me. Like the thumbnail that gets used for like the corner folk, with
Yeah.
the little thing up in the corner. The thing I've been sitting here trying to figure out what that reminds me of, and it reminds me of the picture, and I don't even know what the picture's from. So this is like the worst explanation
You're
ever.
doing great, sweetie.
It's like the little black thing and it's got its arms up
Yeah.
like this and its face. What is that from?
Oh, I don't think I actually know what
Babadook?
you're fucking talking about. No.
No.
I'll-
Never mind. I've derailed this and I have no answers.
If you
for
find
Well,
my
the
now I'm
picture.
stuck on it.
If you find that picture, put it up on the YouTube video because now I'm
Okay,
curious.
somebody in the Discord's got to know what I'm
Oh, this is
talking
gonna
about.
eat me alive. Fuck yeah! Please, Discord, come
Send the
through.
picture in the fucking pod fam chat
Yeah.
so I can see
It
what
gets used
you're
as a
referring
meme
to.
all the time.
I know
And it's like
exact-
a thing, and its face is on its body, and it's got like these long arms, and it's like holding them up like it's flexing, or like I don't fucking know. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Pixar didn't
I don't know if I
happen.
can. What is this thing's name?
It
Okay,
doesn't
I have to
matter.
continue. Where was I? Oh right, shot from Earth, the tentacle thing. Camera default. Cool, awesome. So we see essentially the same environment that you saw in the corner world. The camera starts rotating, and it kind of shows us the creation of many, many, many more corner worlds. As they start to kind of extrude off into space. And eventually the whole camera gets swallowed by a corner world. Now, I say corner world. Corner world refers to these fuzzy white blobs that are swallowing up reality, I guess. If you
Yeah.
look through the Corner Folk episodes, this starts to tie a lot together for you. And the one question that you should kind of keep in your mind when going through the rest of this is, when it comes to Corner World, who was included and who was excluded? Because that's a very important question that I hope we'll answer by the end of this episode. If not, I'm so sorry. But keep that in your mind. It's a very good question to think about. The very last thing that we see on this part 5 is text that just pops up and it says, survivors of the Great Division are known as Corner Folk. That should be setting alarm bells off for everybody.
Corner folk.
Yes,
And with that,
and-
we end season 2.
Yep. And
Bye bye, season 2. We hardly knew ye.
one of the last things I will mention about
We
season
knew you real
2
well.
is if you're confused about anything with the freedom statue.
Good.
Yep.
Go fuck yourself. That's not the answer.
No, just-
we won't find the answer.
No, just yep. I mean, it does just kind of come out of left field where it's like, hey, now this thing is kind of a pro tag. It just kind of
Yeah,
happens.
We'll get there, bro.
We'll explain everything
It's
to
just
the
chilling
best
in
of
the
our
Grand
ability.
Canyon.
Yeah,
It's
but
tough question.
anyway,
We need you
now
to
that we're
fight our
done with
battles.
our
Yes,
hour
done
and
with season
15-minute
2.
review of season 2, let's
No,
move
not
on
even
to
a
season
Review,
3.
just catch up.
We can
Yeah,
dump
touch up.
all up into season 3.
Let's jump into it.
Guys, I
Let's
hope you're not-
dump.
Are you guys okay with like a 3-hour fucking episode?
They sure are.
They
They're
about to have to be.
sealed our fates at this point.
Yep. So
And everyone along with us.
season
Alright.
3.
Matt, when you edit this, just
Yo.
set us at like 1.5 speed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Got it.
where are we starting season 3 at?
So season 3 kind of starts. Well, when you go to the season 3 playlist, the first thing is a teaser, but there's not really anything of any substance in it. So then the actual first episode of season 3 is actually an old video, and it's the first video that was actually uploaded to the Mr. Manicora YouTube channel, and it's 6 years old at this point. And there's, as far as I can tell, there's nothing in it that actually like drives the plot or the lore of this any further. It's really just sort of a short music video with a picture of a lion that's got like a man's head.
It's a
stuck on
manticore.
it.
It's a manticore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
want to think that this
Uncultured
Eventually-
swine.
I want to think this eventually will have something to do with something, but I honestly, this was so wildly left field that like I have no idea.
yeah. Well, that is a manticore. So it shows you the picture of this lion man thingy, and then it says, well, there's also like a spinning circle that's white, and it's got a black circle inside of it, and that keeps like blinking back onto the screen. But after it shows you the manicore, it says that you need to memorize that image, and then it shows, and then it says in part 1, and then there's more of that weird fucking circle. And then it says, identify the differences. And then you get like these real sensual close-ups of like parts of the manicore. And it's like, here's its feet. Here's its tail. And all the time there's like this fucked up dubstep going on in the background.
The music, by the way, music for season 3, holy shit, step up.
Yeah. So then it tells you that you need to remain still and breathe regularly. And then the fucking drop kicks in. And it's like, and there's like pictures of like all sorts of fucking mythical creatures popping up on the screen. You get real intimate with some monsters, and that's basically the whole video. It's just drawings of these weird mythological creatures. So episode 2 is where we get into some real meat, and this one is called Washington Wanderer. And it opens up with a video of Leonard Moreland, who is someone we've referenced before, and he's the guy who was like an ADA inside agent for a long time.
He's
turned out to be a whistleblower.
Lit himself on fire.
Yeah.
Self-immolation. Trigger warning if you don't like that.
Recording of his last words, and he says that everybody needs to remember him for America and remember him for Virginia, who is the girl that is like one of the protagonists who like got fucked up by the tree.
Virginia Arnoldson. If you don't remember.
And so the next thing that we see is a grainy black and white photo and some text that reads, on February 20th, 2022, the horned serpent metastructure went silent. And then there's some video of special trees, and it's like pretty clearly this land of special trees that just goes on forever that Virginia was talking about. And there's like this awful song that's playing in the background that's super distorted. And then after that ends, it says a new song began on February 22nd, 2022.
Hey, what happened on February 22nd, 2022?
We all dead.
The whole shit got blowed up.
Yeah, that was the. We just want to call that the event.
That's the Great Division.
The Great Division, yeah.
Yeah. So there's more shots of these trees, and then there's what I assume to be like whatever happens when these trees like suck somebody into Wonderland.
Wait, you telling me these trees are sucking people off?
Yeah, man.
Where's this forest?
I get one?
Sign me up.
Can you Amazon Prime one of these?
Do they have seeds? Can we plant?
Will they have seeds after they suck you off? That's the
take
thing.
my money.
Huh? So after we get the sexy trees, we get a shot of some like some power lines, and there's the sound of an answering machine, and it says whoever is being called isn't available, and so we get a voicemail that's left by one Howard Melrose. And we've heard from Howard before, and like he's done in the past, he's leaving a message for Eunice, who is Eunice Dean. And he says, "Hey Eunice, it's Howard. I finally accessed the maze servers. The data is crazy. It's all from an explorer down there. It's from a guy who went to Wonderland, aka down there, aka the metastructure.
Yep.
Which is the place like Wonderland that we've talked about. And he says the data's a bombshell, and he tells Eunice that Wonderland keeps copies. It's like a tea machine.
Jesus Christ!
And you can't ever replace or delete a file permanently.
Doug, that was not a rational reaction, but I love it.
Jesus Christ!
Jesus!
Shit! Get the president on the phone.
K the P. Sorry, we haven't done
They
that
hit the second tower.
Can I?
They hit the Pentagon.
Lyle.
This is gonna go horribly in just a second.
I would also just like to. Can I just pencil in real quick and just mention?
Do whatever you want, man.
Just with
We don't care anymore.
with Howard Melrose.
Yes.
We've heard of him in the past. He is the one that in the Deanverse leaked the information to the public about things like the Giza Guardian, the Lincoln Looker, and the Suez Canal crab.
However, the one that was labeled the whistleblower was Leonard Moreland.
Yes, but Howard had his hand in a bunch of this stuff.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Howie Zowie.
Howie
Howie Zowie, indeed. God damn it.
Howard Zoward.
Matt,
So
don't let anyone tell you you're not a fucking genius because that was the smartest thing I've heard today.
That's the thing that solidified it for
Hey,
you was Howie Zowie.
He
If
thought
you
you were
see-
fucking
Put it
idiot
on my
until
fucking
now.
tombstone.
If you see
I
who I
will.
hung out with today, you like that's the smartest thing I've heard today. 100%.
It's just me.
Dear
He's
God,
only
you
hung out with
work
me.
in a hospital.
I work in a hospital with surgeons, so just
For years now.
do with that information what you will.
For years now, Jason's been like, Matt's such a fucking idiot. And now all of a sudden, here's Howie's out.
Howie's
He's like,
out.
Howie Zowie. Oh
He's
my
a
God, it all makes
genius.
sense now.
he was playing 4D chess.
I
this
see
entire
the
time.
ways.
Oh man. Well,
Oh shit.
nothing like a 3-hour episode to go off topic for a little bit.
Anyway, the fucking Wonderland thing has copies of everything. Everything that's like all the entities that have ever been in the like universe as people who occupy it know it. There's a copy of these entities in Wonderland, and you can't fucking delete them. They're in there.
Beep
So
or copy machine.
anyway,
It's like Internet Explorer on a Windows computer.
yeah, exactly, sure. Cathanaut C, he went down there and he found a copy, and it killed him. It just fucking killed him. Didn't say a copy specifically of what, just found a copy. Now he's dead.
GG Rex.
So anyway, the next thing we see is a shot of the Washington Monument, and it's all fucked up.
Can I hold on
And-
real quick?
Yo,
So when they said that the copy killed the Cathanaut, right?
yeah.
Cathanaut.
The implications of that sentence are fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's
Because a Catherine is like a demigod, basically.
yes,
Or like a,
but
yeah.
now it's been replaced by a copy, and we've seen this before. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, so we see a shot of the Washington Monument. It's all fucked up. And the camera zooms in, and there's a woman standing on top of the monument. Who that is?
Who that is?
People have guesses. We have guesses.
It's Virginia.
But yeah, but okay, it's probably Virginia. But there's text that pops up on the screen and says, "Who is the Washington Wanderer?"
oh
See-
yeah, that's not Virginia.
I'm not going to go too deep into it, but you guys say
I'm not
Virginia.
go too deep.
I think it might be a copy of Everett.
Hmm.
Well, you'd be
wrong.
wrong, but we'll tell you
Mm,
why.
We'll see why, won't we?
Oh yeah, we'll tell you why.
I'll tell you why
Mike-
we're both wrong.
Mike's playing this whole thing like he knows everything, and I hope he just like drops some like like
yes.
what he thinks is a startling revelation. Everybody's just like, no.
Mm,
Here's
What?
here's
very
my theory.
shallow and pedantic.
Here's my theory. Mike was sober at the beginning of this episode. Now Mike is a little buzzed and has a dab of confidence about him,
You
and
got
he
a
wants,
little beam in
and he
him?
wants to try to make it seem like he knows something we don't.
I know a lot
Mike,
of things.
tell us
you
about
don't.
how Yamcha can destroy.
Oh my
planets.
God, he's a planet buster. It's obvious. No, shut up. Go continue with the thing. You're gonna make me go on a rant that I don't want to go on because I'll make myself.
We don't have
angry.
time.
So anyway, who's the lady on top of the monument? Who is the Washington Wanderer? Who are these people? What are these things? That's where the episode ends. So episode 3 is called Monument Mythology, and this is like a presentation, like an informational presentation, and it's from the Dean Museum of Natural History, and it presents the origin of the horned serpent, which is a term we've heard several times before. This audio is taken from an open ceiling museum sound system, and the audio in the background is suitably disturbing. So we learned that long ago, a universe ended and all fell into darkness. And in that darkness, there were only two beings. There was a tree and there was a serpent. And they just talked to each other for many eons. And that's all they did. Until one day, the serpent was like, this fucking sucks. And literally says it would be better. Something would be better than nothing.
You
You're
can
not
either have
wrong.
something, or you can have
Yeah.
nothing.
Dude, when I read that line in this video, I laughed my fucking ass off because I'm like, well, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I sure
So,
hope it does.
idiot.
Serpent decides to do something about it. So she makes a universe, and she decides to make a universe by shitting it out, basically. She lays eggs.
So many eggs.
So the first thing she starts with is like planet-sized eggs that you can live on. And so she makes all
Okay.
the planets out of her butt cloaca. And so then she lays all the plants and all the animals.
Okay. So far,
And-
so far, so good.
Right. And this serpent's name was Entropus. And so after she poops all the planets and all the plants and animals that live on top of them,
Right.
then she decides that she needs to make all the statues alive.
Wait,
That's just kind of brushed over.
wait. It was going great up until
Yeah,
that
yeah.
very last one. What
Yeah,
what happened?
It's I mean, I think that follows with like every story of creation that we've like been
You're
told,
not
right?
wrong.
You make the world, then you make the people, and then you make the statues alive.
So this is a story of creation.
Yeah.
Would you say
That's
this
the
would
last part.
would this be a creationist belief?
I don't think it's creationist belief. I think it's creationist fact.
There it is. You heard it here first, folks.
The serpent pooped the planet and all the people and made the statues alive.
Yeah.
It can't get any more clear cut.
Fuck
So
your God.
After she does all that, she decides that she needs to give some power to her like demigod brothers and sisters to keep her in check because she is the goddess of chaos after all. And she's like, whoa, the chaos is going to get out of hand at some point. Well, it does. Eventually, the chaos becomes too much, and a lightning bolt hits her and beheads her.
Ooh.
And can you guess? Can you make a guess where the lightning bolt hits her?
In the neck.
In the penis.
No. Like what location on planet might happen that might be relevant? An area with pointy items and objects, and a thing where there's a transparent substance that we
Oh.
referenced before.
Hey.
Hey,
Is it Wonderland?
No, it's Giza.
Oh, I
It's
thought it
Giza.
was.
Oh right, I forgot a bunch of shit happens
Yeah.
in Egypt.
Yeah. Anyhow,
I also forgot
So-
about Suez Canal crab, if I'm being honest.
Crab people are the best
Well,
part of this.
this whole thing is like in the style of like an Egyptian mythology thing. So
Do they
Anyhow.
include reclaim your stuff from Egypt Day?
no,
Oh.
but I'm sure James Dean makes that a national holiday.
Oh yeah, no. Season 2 tells us he did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. There was in Suez
I don't
Canal
know. Oh,
crab.
yeah, that was when the fucking crab,
Yeah.
like, and then like people get into the fucking fight over
Yes.
like was it a microwave or something?
and
And
a
like
co-
so many
yes.
people,
And
and
they're
so
like-
many people get into a fight over it that like people start dying, and it's like a huge.
And out of
Yeah,
the 12,000
I fucking forgot about
Americans that showed up, 944 survived. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so the lightning strike chops chops the serpent's head off,
Entropus.
and the serpent Entropus. Yeah.
Yep.
It chops her head off, and so it's just like chilling on the ground, and some baby serpents find it, and these baby serpents are all like, "Hey, this is a literal god's head. What should we do with this?" So they decide to play like 3 kids in a trench coat with this god's head, and just like
oh
all
my God. You're
they
totally
all
right.
crawl up inside of it, and they're like, "Hey, we can use this to trick people." And so they find a farmer, a warrior, and an advancer.
They fucking weekend at Bernie'd this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
straight up. And they like find these 3 mortals, and they're like, "Hey, so
I'm
we
the
got a
god
whole
of
thing
chaos."
going on. we need you to make a weapon that I can use to like overthrow all the other gods." And they're like, sure, I guess. And so they use Giza glass to make a weapon that the serpents then take to the other gods, and the other gods are like, "Oh my God, what the fuck happened to your body?" And they're like, "That doesn't matter." And they're like, "Well, I guess we'll give
Stop
you your
asking
powers
questions.
back." Yeah. They're just like, "I guess we'll give you your powers back." So they give the
Yep.
fucking serpents all the powers that Entropus had before. And now that the serpents are like, "Hell yeah, we're like actually god powerful now." Then they take the weapon, kill all the other gods. And
Surprise!
Then, yeah. And then the next thing that they say is they're like, "We need to be old." Like, so
We don't
we
look-
need to go to the beach that makes us old.
Yeah. Stephen King, come here. Come here.
Nah, M. Night
So-
Shyamalan.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So they split up because you can't be old together. You got to get old separately.
Oh, obviously.
And they split up and they go to different planets. And two of these serpents pick bad planets because they're fucking stupid, and one of them's way too hot, and the other one's way too cold.
Mercury.
And it kills them. And so the third serpent is like, "Well, I fucking picked Earth. Obviously, it's a temperate climate. Jesus Christ, what are you people doing?" And
It's like the three. It's
so-
like Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
yeah. And so now that serpent just lives in the Earth. Yeah. Yeah. So now there's a serpent in Earth. Does that sound familiar? There's a
It
serpent
doesn't.
just, like chilling inside the Earth.
Horned
Is it-
serpent.
is it
George
Is it horny?
Washington.
Is it horny?
Is it horny?
Is it horny? Well, yeah, it's been alone.
If it's horny, we got a story.
Now it's a horny old man snake that lives in.
Oh no, he doesn't have any like. He can just do whatever he wants then if he's an old man.
Oh,
No.
Wow, great.
So there's episode 4, and
That
I don't
was-
think we agreed which one of us was going to cover this.
So
but-
technically, this is episode 5 because it's weird how they put it in the playlist. So
if
we'll-
we count the Nixonverse trailer as episode 1, this is episode 5. If we
there may have been
exclude
some
it-
confusion
There
when
was.
we did this. It's fine. So we'll just say this is episode 5
Hell
moving
yeah.
forward, and it's called Angel Ashes. And this episode starts with a glowing man, which we can assume is the angel, falling down into a void of some sort. And we see that when they land, we see the head of a statue and a man, and the man begins to brighten wherever this is taking place. Now, if we know anything that happened from season 2, we know that basically the angel slayed the freedom statue.
Mhm.
So what we're seeing right here is the angel and the head of the freedom statue.
Mhm.
So it cuts to what looks like the angel
Yeah.
saying sorry over and over and over again.
I do want to say
then-
real fast. I
Nope.
You're probably well throughout that entire like bit that Moot was going over. You're probably wondering like, how is there still
No,
stuff
I
going
left
on?
no questions unanswered. I was very thorough.
How
Yeah,
is
literally,
shit?
if you have questions, you weren't listening.
Well, you're probably wondering to yourself, how is there shit going on when this planet was destroyed?
Stop! I'm literally about to talk about all of it.
I know. I'm just
Don't
saying.
do it. No.
Here you go, Doug.
Stop.
Mike is just he's fluffing
Bird
your part.
scootering you.
He's bird scootering me in the middle of explaining.
He's
All right, so-
scooting your bird.
Thank you, Mike. That was really
You were
I
already
appreciate
halfway
that.
there, and he was like, "Wait, Doug, come
Wait.
back. You need to get on this bird scooter and ride it back in."
This is how you do it.
So if you remember, anyways, so yeah, we get some dialogue happening here, and we get a very black and white, very very picturesque from all of the other videos that we see of the angel saying sorry over and over, and then we see Cathonaut A, and he basically starts saying the following. And real quick, just because I want to explain this, Cathonaut means underworld, deep sea, or like void.
Void.
There's like a bunch of different meanings for it, and then when you slap on the knot, that means explorer. So we can only assume that this is like a void explorer when we talk about the Cathonauts. I just figured I'd say that, but basically,
Well, that's why they're called astronauts.
yeah.
I thought they meant like Astro. Not.
I thought that
Gotcha.
I thought they were like ass explorers, but that's different. Anyways, so basically, yeah, the angels are profusely apologizing to the Cathonaut.
That's an ass turd knot.
He's not really laughing. The glasses haven't come off, and he's not crying. He's fooling you. Don't let him fool you. Anyway, so the angels say, or I'm sorry, the Cathonaut says, "At least everyone is free now." And then the angel replies with, "We do not feel free. We want another chance." And the Cathonaut replies with this. He says, "You had your chance. You cheated death in Egypt. All I have is a suggestion for you. Divide yourself until you no longer can. Some of your particles will trickle randomly through the fabric of time in every direction. Your own personal division can change the past, present, and future. Perhaps your ashes will give your third chance and give you your my God. Perhaps your ashes will give you your third chance you have asked for. I said churd, and there was a lot of things
You
happening.
needed a third chance to say turd.
I
Yeah.
turd
thance.
I you third churd. Anyways, so yeah, basically he's saying blow yourself up, end your own life, put the particles inside of you, Angel, into the universe, and you may be able to save the past, present, and future. So after this, we cut to what is like a back shot of Earth, and it says 2/22. Nice. It says 2/22/2022, and that's the day that we can assume that the Great Division happened.
So is this supposed to be like when he tells the angel to like spread himself as far as he can across multiple universes? Is that supposed to be kind of like a reference to like George Washington and being spread and stretched?
No,
No.
that's different. And I can tell you that I guess technically we could talk about that now, just because you brought it up. So what's happening right now is at the end of season 2, they say the Cathanat A is going to be giving you data transmission soon, right?
No,
This is that data, man.
No, I know that. I don't mean like literally. I just mean I wonder if that's just a reference. Like it's a similar process being stretched.
No, I'm getting
thin.
there. I'm getting there.
Oh, sorry.
So basically, he gives them the second chance, right? So we know that the world, the Deanverse ended on 2/22/22.
Yep.
And this is about to essentially reset everything that's happening, because at the end of this video, I'll get to your question in a second, we actually see the date change to 2/23/2022. We can only really assume from here that what had the explosion has been undone, but we don't have any concrete evidence of that. But we have to assume, seeing the time go forward, that may be what it is.
We have to
Now-
assume that everything that we've seen up to the point of the reset
There's so much
doesn't
assuming.
matter.
Yeah, almost. Now, your thing about George Washington stretching, that is attributed to, I'm going to touch on it very briefly, but basically what it is when we found out that George Washington is connected to the Earth horned serpent, when we saw him in that video, the blind man and the forbidden fruit or whatever,
Yeah.
when he goes into Wonderland, he starts stretching. And what we know about Wonderland from here,
Gotta
and
limber up.
you do have to limber up for sure, but there's a
Zombieland
lot
tells you
of,
that.
I'm gonna just kind of put this out there into the ether, but essentially when you go into Wonderland, your physical form changes, and
A lot.
if we know that George Washington is also a part of the Horned Serpent, we can only assume that when we saw that video of him stretching through the infinities of Wonderland, that was him, I guess, becoming one with the Horned Serpent.
And just for some lore's sake, I guess, I'm sure most Americans are familiar, at the very least, with the story of George Washington cutting down the cherry tree.
Yeah.
Like
So,
it's a staple.
He already went over that. He already
yeah,
went over that.
it all.
I'm
it all
I'm
ties together.
reiterating. It's U.S. history, but a little different.
Well, yeah, without giving too much away, yeah, we can just assume that
It's
George
important,
Washington
Mike.
stretched himself. Like, he got stretched out super long, because that's what was happening, into the form of the Horned Serpent. And yeah, I have
can't
too
say
much
anymore.
information
You can't
that I
say
don't
anymore
want to
right
say
here.
because we haven't got there.
Yeah,
yet.
you can't say anymore. Right here.
But basically that ends the video. The day changes from 2/23/2022. We can only assume from there, like I said, that the division was undone. But where does that leave us? What dimension are we in? What is happening now? We don't know.
We should ask.
It's February 23rd, 2023.
We should ask
what's
Elon Musk what's happening.
We should. So moving on to the next episode, this is called Musk Mars. And if you know anything about Musk and Mars, I don't know where I was going there with that.
In this
oh my
universe,
God, he does buy the Twitter machines.
Yeah.
Yep. So
in,
anyways,
in this universe, Elon Musk takes Earth itself, a very notable branded item and changes it to X, Planet X, with no
Musk X.
marketability, no
It's now named-
notoriety, very stupid.
Now all you have to do is go to xvideos.com and you can just find the new Twitter feed.
So yeah, I'll just reel us back in real quick here. So
Get us out of
episode
porn.
6, Musk Mars. We see the episode starts by showing 2023 on the screen, right? And then we see an astronaut standing on Mars, and it kind of pans down to his face, and we see that it is indeed Elon Musk.
Can I mention how terrible the fucking visuals for that was?
Yeah, the visual isn't great.
It's not good.
You can tell it's Elon Musk, and you can tell it's Mars, but it doesn't look
Doesn't
the
look like he's
best.
there.
thing we've ever seen. But basically, we get this diagram up on screen of Mars, and there's this big hole at the very bottom of Mars, and it shows what's called the Musk Mine, and it states that it is now the largest American monument. And we can see what they're mining is called Martian glass, and it cuts to a feed of Mars where basically you see this big chain of skulls strung together floating across the sky, which we can only assume are the cavern crown or the canyon crowns. And basically these canyon crowns is what Elon Musk is using to do his mining of the Martian glass. And it basically cuts to a screen. This part is kind of irrelevant for the most part, but I think it's kind of funny. Cuts to a screen showing that you can now write by hand on Twitter, and then someone writes "fuck you, Elon," and then another says "you're doing God's work, keep it up," and then of course someone draws a giant penis, and then someone says "I hope you rot in hell" with Rockefeller, and it's basically just exactly what you'd expect if you could just draw pictures on Twitter and send them out. And then Elon tweets back out, "I'm on Mars, LOL," and then we cut to what looks like a pyramid on Mars, and then we see a tweet from Elon that says, "Let's nuke some ice caps. We do
right.
not know Mars."
Right.
And then basically what he does is he shares these pictures of like what I would call like a before and after, and it looks like there's a pyramid on Mars essentially, and then this kind of like white light happens, and then now there's like a bunch of monoliths on Mars. And this is from what is explained basically as he's mining with the crowns on Mars. He's turning these he's turning the pyramids into monoliths, and this is being caused by the canyon crowns. I'm not sure exactly how that works out like logistically as far as things are, because we don't get a real good explanation.
We don't get a behind the scenes of a.
But I have to assume that the Martian glass is somewhat similar to Giza glass, which we have on Earth,
gotta be.
and
He's
there's
a pyramid.
Yeah.
exactly you
And
have some sort of the
Futurama
same
tells us-
properties. So I have to assume that now maybe what's happening is that Elon is uncovering another portal to Wonderland there, because we know that if there's trees, there's monoliths, and etc.
We're
So-
figuring out how it works.
So then we get an image of Mars with a huge red line coming off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when we find out that Elon done fucked up.
Oh, so
and-
bad.
What?
Basically,
No.
It's-
Yeah.
not
you
Elon
see on
Musk.
Very uncharacteristic.
very uncharacteristic.
The man who
but
had over
basically-
half his Teslas
a South African
taken
owns
back
an
for
emerald mine.
defects. What?
Yeah.
Guys, I'm starting to think
Hey.
might not be real fond of.
You know what?
Elon.
He
I'm
fucking
gonna-
sucks.
I'm going to bring this podcast to a grinding halt real quick. What are our thoughts
think
on
we already
Elon
have.
Musk?
Nope, definitely
Go.
not.
Hey,
Go,
hey, Mike.
go.
Mike, what are your thoughts on Elon Musk?
He loves
If
Dogecoin.
Elon Musk and Yamcha got into a fight.
Find the similarities. Ready, go.
Okay.
All right, so I'm so close to being done with this.
Go for it, man. I'm so
All right.
sorry.
So then we get an image of Mars with a huge red line coming off of it, and it kind of looks like those pictures you see of the sun, where it's like got this like big like flare like
Oh, like a
tentacle coming out of it, right?
Solar flare.
Solar flare. Anyways, so yeah, and then it's labeled. So we see this long string coming out, and like the video is slowly kind of like following its curvature, and we get it. It starts labeling what we're seeing, And it says the Martian serpent exits the glass mine like a burst intestine falling towards Earth. And basically, once the video finishes following all the curvature of it, you see for sure what looks like a serpent's head. So now, not only are we dealing with something that may be a serpent on Mars, but we already know that there was a serpent on Earth. So
Sounds like
have
oxygen's not a problem.
but this ties into what Matt was talking about the serpent that went to the cold, the hot, and the okay planet. So maybe the one that was too cold did die.
survive.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Wow.
So that ends that video, and we get another video, episode 7, called After Angel. This one is very very brief. The episode starts with the Dwight Comics logo, which we will go
DC
over
Comics.
in our yeah, but basically we will go over this when we cover the Nixonverse. And basically it moves to a title card that says Babylon Forest 2022. What we see is the angel approaching freedom, and it's just him going through the forest. Basically, he's kind of walking around. Then we get text, and it says future angels' ashes slip through time and shift the neurons of the past. And then we see the angel ask the statue to please kill it, which it promptly does. So you see freedom just cut the head off of the angel. Now this is important because we know that the freedom statue is wielding a sword made of Giza glass.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes.
So we can only assume right now that even though freedom cut his head off, the head is probably intact still.
Yeah.
Now, we don't get this information from this video, but if you've been following along,
If you
and
watch
you're
the
competent-
Giza Guardian video from I think that was season 1,
right?
you know what's happening here.
So basically, we think the angel, like, I assume the angel asks this because he wants to make sure that the world doesn't end if the angel kills freedom, which is what happened before.
Yep.
So basically,
Hence the reset.
right. So we're in this weird reset timeline now, and basically the last 30 seconds of this video is just music and a black screen. And one of the things I noticed when I was reading the comments on this video is that there is something going on in this black screen of 30 seconds, but the community has not figured it out yet. I don't know if Alex has actually mentioned what's going on with it, but that's something that I'm not going to cover right now. Anyways, so yeah, that's the end of that video. It's very, very brief, very short, and it just kind of really sets season 3 into a what the fuck is happening kind of atmosphere. And
That video, honestly, for me, took this season from last place to first. If I'm being honest, like,
pretty fun.
season 1 was good. Season 2 is my favorite so far. This one, when I started watching it, I was like, okay, it's all right.
Okay.
But now that we are where we are, holy shit! And honestly, it just gets better. It just gets so much better.
but
Right,
yeah,
right, Mike.
yeah, Mike, take it away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Explain to us why we're idiot wrongs.
I will
please.
later.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Not now.
the next video is called Golden Gate Girl, which it essentially opens up with a warning that this video contains references to suicide. So there's your
Trigger
warning.
warning.
Yeah, there's your
Suicide.
warning. But essentially, it opens up with a woman and a woman with a call with a guy, and she starts it off like, "Hey, like mom, what's up?" And the guy answers back, and he's just like, "You've got the wrong number." And he's got this like super like deep, kind of sexy
Pizza
voice.
Boy-esque.
Did you say Pizza Boy?
I did.
No, it doesn't sound like
Have you
this.
never
Or
seen?
like a
Have you
pizza
never watched
man.
porn?
You know what? You're
Whatever,
right.
Mike.
You're right. But anyway, so he's like, "No, this is the wrong number." And she asks, "Who is this?" And he says, "My name is Howard. Howard Melrose.
Howie Zowie.
Howie fucking Zowie.
So
And then-
we have to
Jason
make a
called me a
shirt,
genius,
right?
so I'm gonna milk that as much.
Howie Zowie."
So we have to make a shirt now, right? Like that's
yeah.
just required.
I would assume so. But
All right.
so we have contact with Howard Melrose, a man who we have not heard from in a bit. So then she asks Howard how he's doing or what and
This
everything. and what is
guerrilla
he up to.
marketing campaign is going well.
Right into the
Sorry.
Monument Mythos.
Go ahead,
Um,
Mike. We
and-
are all so sorry, I'm sure.
It's okay. It's okay. Howard's like, oh, I'm doing great. I'm just kind of looking out at the bay. And this woman is like, oh, man, you live by the water. That's super cool of you. And that's when the guy's like,
Wow. Water.
yeah,
H2O.
crazy concept. And the lady's just like, or he's just like, so what's your fucking name? Because she's like, oh, I wish I lived by the water. He's like, it really is beautiful. And she's like, oh, man, the view up here is beautiful. So he's like, what's your name? And she's like, oh, you can. Yeah. Sure. What?
Shut the fuck up. Don't pay
I'm trying to
any
have a
attention
side
to us.
conversation.
Don't acknowledge it.
Okay. So she's
Learn-
like, you can
learn
call
your
me.
Internet Weekly
place.
is infiltrating our bullshit, and we're trying to make sure it goes smoothly.
You could say you can call. She says you can call me Eunice, Howard. You have such a wonderful, mysterious voice. So this confirms that we have conversation between Eunice Dean and Howard Melrose, who has been in like contact with each other way back since like season 1. Howard would often talk to Eunice, even when she wasn't really around. So now we're getting like contact between the two, which is interesting. He's like, oh, cool. Thanks for saying I have a really nice voice. And she's like, oh, yeah, it's so mysterious. It just wraps me up in like a dark blanket. I could really use a blanket right now.
Oh my god, I forgot about this video.
It's so weird. But then
Yeah, it's about to get way weirder.
Howard's like, oh, are you like in the area? And she's like, I'm on top of the world. Just look to the bridge. And he's like, oh, the Golden Gate Bridge? You're going through there?
Aren't we all technically on top of the world?
We're
Okay,
on top,
hey-
we're all on top of the world.
Hey,
but
Mike, can I just
we're
say
all
this?
on top of the Golden Gate
Can I say
Bridge,
this
too.
now because of how ambiguous it is? Trigger warning.
I already said that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't hear you.
You did. You responded to it.
What did I say?
I said trigger warning, and you also said trigger warning.
Oh shit. Well, I just took a shot, so
Hey, real quick.
that explains that.
It's been a long episode.
Apparently,
real,
but
really
real
is.
quick, if you're listening, trigger warning.
Go ahead,
So
Mike.
anyway-
I'm so sorry. I thought I was doing us a service. Go ahead.
So anyway, Eunice's like tone kind of shifts up, and she says, "Say my name when you're lonely. You make me sound so mysterious." And Howard's just like,
You wrap me up.
all right, sure. And she says,
Right.
she says, call me.
And Howard goes,
So she says, call me whenever something exciting happens. I promise I'll listen in Wonderland. And that's when Howard's like, hey, he's like, hey, Eunice, are you okay? And she goes, thanks for talking to me, Howard. Call me later. And then
Hey,
she
Howie.
hangs up. but
Howie
not-
Zowie.
Thanks
She
for
hang-
listening, Howie.
She hangs up, but not
Uh-huh.
before you hear what sounds like her jumping off of a cliff or like
Yeah,
at the bridge.
nope.
Like you hear like
no,
the
she
wind.
jumps off
Do you think it's the Golden
the
Gate Bridge?
top of the Golden Gate Bridge
Yes,
and
she
dies.
jumps off the bridge. Yes.
Damn.
Anyway, so
But anyway,
we get some
I
cuts.
was laughing at something else.
We get some cuts here, and then
oh, it's not terrible timing, Matt. You were just laughing at something else. Yeah.
That's not cool, bro.
so we get some cuts. I'm gonna save you, Matt. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna save you. So we get some cuts here, and then it cuts to an image of James Dean, and he's crying. And it's to the right of the screen. To the left, we get a man named Monty Clift. And for those of you that don't know, Monty Clift was also another actor around the time that James Dean was acting in our universe. So James Dean, it's a call between the two, and James like, Monty, I need your help. I can't run anymore. Everybody wants to run me over in the street now. And Monty's just like, what? No, what? What are you talking about? And James is like, I'm just a dirty dog. You don't understand. I can't run anymore.
What?
Yeah, he's like, you don't understand. I
Is
can't
that a
run
direct
anymore.
quote?
Yeah. Start the universe over. Start the universe over.
Start it over. Reset.
Actually, we're kind of going to right now. So
Futurama this shit.
So James is going
We're
down
back,
this.
everybody.
He's going down this like dark path here, and Monty's just like, maybe you should get some rest, man. He's like, and James is like, everyone loves you, Monty. Like everyone loves you. They all fucking hate me. And then James says, "You're already a better president than I'll ever be." And then he's like, "I
And then
think,"
they went and raced cars.
and they went and raced cars. They went very,
You want to go
very
drive
good.
cars?
So then he's like, "I think you should run for president." And then you get this weird montage of all this like weird campaigny stuff. And then you get this
Dubstep.
you get this image that is like it's like a political poster, and it says Clifton Dean. So now we have a guy running for president named
Clifton.
Monty Clift, and then you have his vice president James Dean. So in this new universe, although it has been rebuilt, it is still different now. We no longer have President James Dean. We have James Dean running for vice president. And we have this other guy, Monty Clift, who is also an actor in our world.
Which is
turned
why this is
politician.
called the goddamn Montyverse.
Crazy. Actually, it's called
Fucking
Cliftverse by Wendigoon, but who cares? Anyway,
Well,
the next
The community calls it the Montyverse.
the next
There's
Video.
a lot of different names.
There's several.
Yeah. the next
Did you
video
guys know that a manicore is a lion with a man's head stuck on it?
that makes
We-
sense to me.
Oh.
Matt,
That's weird.
I've played D&D, so yes.
I've played Heroes of Might and Magic 3 many times. All right.
So yes.
So the next video is called Cothonaut. And it starts off with the basically saying mission objective, determine the rate of American Wonderland syndrome in the Martian serpent metastructure. Like we've mentioned before, with
I'm
these-
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you go ahead and just what are the conditions for this exploration again?
Determine the rate of American Wonderland syndrome in the Martian serpent metastructure.
Did you say in?
In.
So we're sending a person inside a snake to figure out what America is.
Inside the hole that the snake made in Mars.
To figure out what America is. Got it. Okay.
Well, remember, these tunnels from these serpents, these
That were
metastructures.
dug at light speed, obviously.
Yes, and they're pretty much conjoined with Wonderland. So we're
Right.
sending people through these tubes to see these tunnels to see what's going on. So we sent this Cothonaut in, and he went in using a ship called the USS George Washington. Coincidence?
Wow.
I don't think so. So you see an imagery of this giant serpent, and you see the USS George Washington going towards it. You then get the single phrase, "Good luck in there."
Yes.
And then you get this wild imagery that does look kind of like the pillar, the trees from Wonderland, but it's in this red hue, and it's just kind of the imagery is twisting all over. It's all weird, and then we get this very odd phrase that I still don't fully understand. It's from Cothonaut C. He says, "The spaghettis sent us back home."
The spaghetti.
He says,
Not a Dutch must
Ugh.
"Yes."
The implications there are ridiculous, but yeah, that's fine.
The message says, "The spaghettis sent us back home. We're in Wonderland. There's a child here too." And that's from
Oh.
Cothonaut C. And then it
Yeah.
goes,
That should remind everybody here of a certain story that Doug and I went over a bit earlier.
and then
Oh,
Now,
okay.
Can you recap all of season 1 and 2 so I understand?
You know what? Yeah, hold
We
on.
got
All right,
another 2
going
hours.
back to
Let's do it.
season 1,
Yeah.
the first
So-
episode.
no.
So there's Alcatraz, right?
So now we're introduced to these like paper, this like story that we find on like pieces of paper, like notebook paper, and it's called basically the journey of C. I want to call it, but it starts off with C finds the child, and it is the Cothonaut, and I'm assuming his voyage through Wonderland, because you see these trees with a child inside the tree, and it says C helps the child. C looks at the child. C feeds the child. C plays with the child. And then you get one that says C protects the child. And C has a sword and he's protecting against some weird, freaky alien creature monster thing. And I don't like it. It's very scary.
You can call them false children.
It's a false
That's fine.
child.
Yep.
Then it says things like
Changeling.
C rests with the child.
Oh.
And then we get a bad one. It says C loses the child. And you see the child being kind of sucked back into the trees. And then we get one that says C mourns the child.
Where do
See-
you think the false children come from? Anyway,
You
go
can
ahead.
read Mike's autobiography anywhere books are sold.
There you go. It also says C remembers the child. And then C finds paper. C draws his story. C joins the child.
Nope, that last one was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. So now
Mm.
we get another dark cut here. And then it pops up. And now we have more news from Howard Melrose. It says journalist in parentheses. And it seems like it's kind of in the middle of a conversation with him. And it's kind of similar to the conversation that Matt went over, where
Are
he's
you in
talking
the-
about what?
Are you in the next video?
Nope.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, and it's talking about how Kathanat C, he found a copy. It killed him. And then you get the words "remember me" that pops up on the screen. And you get a picture of one Virginia Arnoldson, and then you get an image of the baby, and right next to that baby pops up the name Everett Arnoldson.
Everett as a baby.
Mm-hmm. And then
We never got to see that.
we get this cut, and it's the silhouette of a baby, and it's like stretching across the screen a little bit. And in the background, it says American Wonderland Syndrome is characterized by an extreme distortion of physical attributes. The distortion is mostly common. It's kind of blurred out. So I'm going to say it says something like amongst individuals exposed to the horned serpent structure, such as Kathanauts or the Washington absentees. While Alice in Wonderland Syndrome is more brain-related, American Wonderland Syndrome is not. But supportive care can improve quality. Euthanasia is an option for those suffering of American Wonderland Syndrome. Please consult your doctor. And the baby...
Is this how Babby is formed?
It is how Babby is formed. You keep seeing the baby stretch across the screen until suddenly we get an image that says that is kind of just these weird... It's kind of blurry. It's a black and white image. It's very blurry, and it says it's a photograph of Everett Arnoldson in Wonderland with American Wonderland Syndrome. And you can't really depict what's going on. It's very blurry. It kind of looks like the trees that we've been seeing that take place in Wonderland. And then it just kind of fades to black. Our next
Fade out,
video...
interior.
Our next video is a fun one. It's called Dean Devil.
This is such a good video.
Oh yeah, this one slaps.
Yeah.
It starts off with the department of the FBI. It starts off with the FBI.
Yep.
And they're basically just like, yo, Howard Melrose,
Get the fuck over here.
he fucking sucks, and he's wanted by us because he is the reason that Eunice Dean is dead. They're basically
Oh,
like,
good job, buddy.
right? Eunice is the older sister of James Dean, Vice
Yep.
President James Dean at this time.
At this point, yes.
Mhm. It is basically go on by saying that he made a call to Eunice, threatening her and basically egging her on to jump off the bridge, to where she
Hey, that phone
jumped
call.
off the bridge.
Golden
Exactly.
Gate Girl?
That
Yeah.
phone call,
Yep.
although it went completely different. We are also treated by Special Agent Rod Serling, which is funny because Rod Serling in our world is the narrator for The Twilight Zone.
Yep.
Look at that.
I
That's
also
kinda
thought
fun.
you said Rod Stewart.
Rod
So I
Stewart.
was like,
You're
oh
approaching
no.
the
scary
door.
dude.
Scary door.
I pooped my pants.
But Rod Serling goes on.
I know Doug
and,
got where I was going with that.
Rod Serling goes on to say basically Howard is dangerous. His voice alone can kill a man. He's like, I recommend if you get on the phone with Howard, just don't. Don't pick up the phone if Howard's on the
Just
phone.
don't.
Keep your children away from the phone. I don't want your children anywhere near a telephone.
Keep your
I
kiddos
recommend
away
if you-
from Howard.
Colors.
I recommend if you're gonna talk to him to not.
Yeah.
Just don't.
And then we get some more calls from Rod Serling, and he does this in his best like 1950s, 60s like spy like voice, because he's like, at 0900 we intercepted a call from Howard's home. I sent men in 9 minutes later. He fled. And I'm like, I fucking love this dude's vibe right now. It's great. But then he mentions that they also intercepted calls from him at the Hollywood Rockefeller Hotel, where he evaded them again. They said that they found him attempting to redact and shred copies of a airplane ticket, which, you know, we've seen airplanes in the past, things like Air Force One. Ooh. The guy then says things like, off the record, Mr. Vice President, whatever I say next, promise me that you'll stay put. No more jokes about taking Air Force Two in for a one-man kill assignment. And he does it in this entire voice that I fucking love. But then he goes on to say that they currently have eyes on Howard Melrose. He's leaving LAX on a plane. He's taking a flight over to DC. And the guy goes on to say that, promise me, Mr. Vice President, that you won't do anything fucky. And then it's immediately followed up with
With some fucking.
it's immediately followed up with him being
okay.
like, he's like, Mr. Vice President, promise me you won't do anything weird. Hello? 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 And then we cut to the plane taking off at LAX, and then Air Force Two coming in and
Yep.
just wham! But right before they collide,
Air Force Two is lit.
right before they collide, we get imagery of two cars colliding, which is what happened to James Dean in our universe. He died in a car accident.
Rebel without a cause.
Yep. Right before that, we get this flash of white light, and we see Howard Melrose and James Dean pop up on screen. And then you see the words Cothonaut A come up. Cothonaut is now talking, and he's basically saying, hey, you two represent tragedy and comedy. You guys are holding this universe together.
His
Howard
voice
Melrose,
is so cool.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to imitate that one. It's like Howard
You
Melrose.
just want to play it?
Nah, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
I'm summing it up pretty good.
Let's just get this over.
I'm summing it up
All
pretty
right.
good. He's like, Howard Melrose and James Dean, you both hold this universe together, yet you tear each other apart. Howard the coward and Dean the devil. I will not let you two ruin
What?
humanity. Try again, fools. And then it kind of just fooms into white again, and it says, grief can make you a monster.
Yep.
And then it cuts to black.
Can I interject with a couple things real quick?
I'm done
Please.
anyway, so go for it.
Because if you don't, I
Perfect.
will.
So if you take a look at season 2, one of the big underlying factors of a lot of the things that are happening is that James Dean as president is full ass feeding these monsters, and basically
He ordered the Air Force One flight path.
he's fucking up, like,
Oh, yeah.
full blown fucking up through season 2, and it's almost hard to see him as like the good guy in season 2 if you look
Oh.
past all the good looks and the swagger. Like, it's
Swagger.
almost like kind of funny
Mhm.
looking back on it now, because he's actually kind of a piece of shit.
Well, dude,
Through the
fucking-
whole
he like straight up
series.
sends people to like monument,
Yes.
Yeah,
internment camps.
Season
he's
1,
feeding the
oh.
monsters in the Washington Monument and fucking the Statue of Liberty.
Well, I mean, look at it. Season 1, it's all about James Dean. It's like, here, look at how awesome he is. Season 2 is all about like, okay, he's not that great. Here's some other shit that's happening around him, but also he's still kind of great. Season 3, did you hear a single mention of James Dean aside from like ancillary bullshit? Because the answer is no, because he's not main character anymore. And there's a fucking reason for that. So let's fucking go.
Yeah, it's definitely wild. I think it's really kind of cool that they're playing him off as like the is playing off as the devil essentially.
Yeah.
And it's
He's the cool guy devil.
like we said,
Fat cat Satan.
yeah, I don't know. As we said, this is a new universe with new possibilities, so like let's
It's
see where it
pretty
goes.
Whoopsie when you defeat Richard Nixon in a presidential campaign and you still turn out to be the bad guy.
Yeah, you're not doing great.
How
If that's the
oopsie
case.
whoopsie.
Oopsie
Whoopsie
whoopsie.
whoopsie.
Who's
Do we want to move on to
Yes.
the finale
Yeah,
of the
let's
whole
do it. Let's
season?
fucking go.
All right,
Let's do it.
guys, we got 3 episodes left. The very next one that we dump into is called Clift Chaos. And this whole episode is just like honestly, it's just like a big broadcast. It's like it just covers the events. Honestly, it follows the events following Dean Devil, which is the last episode. So essentially, we see Cathonaut A, who is forced to reset the universe due to James Dean killing Howard Melrose and himself in a plane collision. So that is what has happened in this last episode. Is all of the random ass weird blank bullshit you see is essentially Jimmy Dean and Howard Melrose coming to an impasse and ending the universe. That is the reason that. Yeah, I hate that. Let's never do that again.
My bad.
That's the reason that that's A, that we're talking about this, and B, that anyone knows about extrasensual, I don't know, universes, that knows anything outside of the Cathonauts, this time sphere that's happening. So let's just fucking dump into it, I guess. So this video opens on a bunch of red text, and it says the following video has been edited to exclude graphic content. This video is it's essentially just like a giant narration, and it relays a bunch of information regarding a government project occurring at Liberty Island, where a solid titanium platform has been constructed at the base of the Statue of Liberty. You hear a bunch of different B-roll, and it shows a bunch of different locations, most of which have been very heavily censored, especially when they are talking about bolting chairs down to Liberty Island. And they say that it was censored due to graphic content. About 2 weeks after the disappearance of James Dean, so this video cuts, and we go to 2 weeks after this. The National Park Service suspended ferries to Liberty Island. So now remember, this is like the main hub of this weird ass activity. This is where you get into Wonderland. So Park Service suspends ferries to Liberty Island, and they began the project over the course of 48 hours. A lot of people kind of found out about what was happening here, and essentially what would happen is they lined the outside of the Statue of Liberty with titanium bars, and they wired up those titanium bars with electrical charges. No one knew what the fuck for or why. And eventually, a fuckload of explosives were wired to the base of the Statue of Liberty around this titanium infrastructure on Liberty Island. It goes over how, like, citizens across the country became very interested and actually very worried about the whole situation.
My favorite part is when they're like, "Oh, the residents and the citizens were freaking the fuck out because they think they're doing like nuclear bomb experiments," and the government's just like, "No, it's fine. No, it's fine."
I love that they did that, and then also on the other end of it, they attached Charles Oppenheimer's name
yeah.
to these experiments. Like, they go, nope, no nukes. And then you see
Charles Oppen. That's a J.
Yeah.
Robert Oppenheimer.
Yeah, you see his
Kind of
name just like
reference.
Huh?
Yeah.
to the Dean
Bo-
Democracy
Bobbert?
video where
Oh,
everybody
yes.
thinks the same thing is going to happen, and then they're just like,
What?
nope, it's James Dean instead. And
Yep.
everyone's like, oh, that's fucking
Exactly. And so like they get into this bullshit, and so right now we have a premise to fulfill, and we're not doing it because out of the two outcomes we got what? James Dean as president or fucking
Monty
Howard
Clift.
Moreland, right?
No. Yep.
Right. That's the third option.
Nope. There's only two.
What do you mean?
This is.
I understand the Montyverse and the Deanverse. I get that.
Yeah, but that's because
But
the
the-
president is.
Right. And what I'm saying is this whole like intervention of Leonard Moreland threw a goddamn wrench in the works, because had everything gone to plan, James Dean would have stayed president and he would have run for a second term. He would have won. And then right after that happened, the world would have ended, right? According to this timeline.
If we look
Yeah.
back on the the acts of what happened through season 1 and season 2, yes,
Correct, but that's not what happened.
correct.
That's not.
That's not.
And that is why season 3 is known as the Montyverse, because we are introduced to a brand new fucking character.
Whoa.
Unfortunately, he's not named in this video. All we know is there's a giant upheaval. Ultimately, there's a broadcast that happens. Nobody was really aware of the full purpose of Liberty Island, and as soon as they were shown this broadcast of like a titanium platform being set up, a bunch of wires happening, and a bunch of C4 being wired to the platform, as soon as all of that happened, and actually, oh my God, I forgot, the chairs were bolted to the floor, and there were two recollections. One was of, I think, World War II, of just like explosions and just being a part of it. The other was sitting at NASA for one of the first rocket launches, where all the chairs were, you guessed it, bolted to the ground. Now, they were bolted to the ground here. However,
Say bolted to the ground one more fucking time.
bolted to the ground.
Thank you.
Bolted.
No rockets were being launched. Why are they bolted to the ground? Why do you have to stay here? Why do you have to do this? Is it maybe because it's in front of the I don't know, the Washington Monument, and we know it's happening down there. So newspaper headlines start happening. This explosion
It's the
goes
Statue
up.
of Liberty, not the Washington Monument.
Sorry, yes, Statue of Liberty.
So many monuments.
There
What are you
really
gonna
are.
do, right?
You can't, right?
It's a monumental amount. Some would say.
So they go over the Oppenheimer diagrams. This whole sequence alludes.
Where does Barbie come in?
That's hopefully in season 4. If not,
Okay.
Alex, you are fucking up. So a lot of people became very interested with what was happening in the U.S. right after this happened. And writers such as Charles Beaumont and Rod Serling, I know this was already mentioned, but they started writing about what was happening here. Ultimately, a broadcast came from this, and it was a bunch of B-roll that was shot of the Capitol building, and the Statue of Freedom. Okay, this is actually super important. The Statue of Freedom is distinctly missing from this shot of the Capitol building. And when citizens across the nation see this, they kind of get pissed. They see this whole like this video with Charles Beaumont and Rod Serling, and essentially it ends up as like a propaganda machine, and it says, "Make America a better place. Leave the country." And if I were being 100% honest, I would say that's not too far off from where we are right now, which makes me think this is kind of touching on that.
This and that.
This didn't really
Got it.
This didn't really allude anybody to what's happening on Liberty Island. However, a bunch of workers were called to the platform. for various reasons. And shortly after they arrived, after building this bolted titanium fence, the explosives went off, and no one knew exactly what happened. All you saw was this giant inferno and this huge smoky cloud. After this happened, there were headlines across the country. A lot of people were wondering why these explosives were even wired up in the first place, which, yeah, obviously. But apparently, the explosive created just a bunch of unrest. A lot of people thought that, like, an atomic bomb was set off on Liberty Island. And honestly,
Oppenheimer was there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's quotes from Oppenheimer at this location. There's an explosion, and there's a bunch of unrest. I don't know. To me, that screams some kind of nuclear test. I'm not sure why. But as far as we can ascertain, what's the only reason we would set off an explosive on Liberty Island?
The serpent. The thing, the horn
serpent,
horny grandpa serpent,
Wonderland,
The horny grandpa serpent.
Horny
Let's
Gramps.
not bring that up.
Yeah. So after this gets divulged, there's a very fucking hard cut, and we see a lot of quick cuts between. There's a bunch of law enforcement footage. There's a bunch of like politicians trying to like alleviate a situation. There's a bunch of kids missing posters and stuff. But the big thing that you want to look out for is after this like super glitchy broadcast comes to an end that goes over like kids being missing, and just all of this just random bullshit. It fades back into part of this actual report. And the one thing you need to remember is that after this event is announced to the public, the majority of populated America starts to evacuate and just move to less populated areas. There's a lot of information about animal attacks. It basically says, like, if you're in a city area, like, just realize that a dog will bite you and probably take at least 2 fingers. At one point, the president gets attacked by a dog. And it's mass chaos. They go over like snake attacks. Like, people left their snakes in cages and
That's
they got
real.
out. Yeah, and they attacked people, and apparently a bunch of people died
true
from
danger.
venomous snake bites. Dog attacks were huge. There were 1 or 2 accounts on sheep attacks, but like, who the fuck has a sheep?
If you don't have a sheep, you ain't know what you're missing.
You ain't know what you're missing for sure.
So after all of this,
I said what I said.
after all this destabilization, we go through some very, very, very quick cuts. What was that?
It's been a long episode, man.
Oh, we're not
Please
done
continue.
yet. So after all this happens, we get some B-roll, and we see that it's B-roll of something called the Montgomery Clift campaign.
Hey.
And it's a certain advertisement. And eventually it lands on Montgomery Clift's face. When it does that, it glitches a whole bunch, and you see a bunch of firefighters that are extinguishing the Liberty Island fire. They go over casualties, and then at midnight, a spotlight was activated on the Statue of Liberty platform. Several minutes went by, nothing occupied the bright light, and then all of a sudden, the broadcast glitches like 4 times, and the light shuts off, and then the broadcast shuts off, and that's the end of Clift Chaos.
People who film analog horror should really invest in better cameras.
You're
true.
not
They're
fucking
like
wrong.
always glitching out.
That's fucking weird. You know?
Same people that try to record Bigfoot, like it's always blurry. Get a better camera.
That's just what he looks like.
Yeah, he's just blurry.
He's just blurry.
He's an alien. It's fine.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready for the next one?
Nope.
The
All right.
final one.
100%.
Second to last video.
Oh.
Here we go.
Countdown to the final countdown.
This episode's essentially a retelling of events. And it's based off a bunch of engravings that have been found within the Babylon forest. Do we remember that?
Babylon.
Remember what that has to do with
Yeah.
this?
The big final
a bad
fight
3D
scene.
animation.
It's
I bet
very
that's
bad.
Avengers Endgame.
But yes. But this goes over the story of Everett Arnoldson. And I know we mentioned this earlier and we tied some things together for you for season 2, but this goes over the full story of Everett Arnoldson. So the episode opens up. It's got a dark red background and it has text that says the following wood engravings were found in the Babylon forest. Everett's story will be narrated by an individual with AWS. There it is.
All wheel sluts.
all wheel sluts, yes.
Anus wrangling Sasquatches. Anus wrecking Sasquatches.
There it is. That's the one. So in this episode, we see, to start off with, we see a bunch of different sketches. And apparently they're created by this man named Everett Arnoldson. We've seen the Arnoldsons before. We know that they are the reason all of this is happening. So Everett's sketches kind of go over his experience living in Wonderland. And now, up until now, we've only gotten hints that Everett was actually in Wonderland. Season 2 gave us some hints about how Virginia was pregnant with someone named Everett, and when she got to Wonderland, she was no longer pregnant. So, like, some hints were dropped. But this is where we actually find out what the fuck happens. So this whole narration, it's performed by this person who seems to be suffering by, like I said, AWS or American Wonderland syndrome, which is just basically where you dissociate from your entire life and realize that you've spent 5 million years in this dark, weird place.
I think I might have this.
Yeah, maybe. Me too, I think. So one of the things that you can kind of tell, if somebody has AWS, it's just a lot of mumbling. So
Is
this
it
video,
similar to
Check.
AMD American
the
Matt's
processor?
driveway?
American Matt's driveway.
Because I think I
Yeah,
have
really
that.
need to get out because I really got to seal it.
You got to count on those sealant jokes, man.
Nah,
That's-
you
they
sold
kill.
that property, bro. That's on them now.
That's fair.
Oh man. So this person suffering from AWS, which we have just touched on, decides to share their experience. And there's not many decipherable words, but luckily somebody translates for us.
Luckily, Jason knows words,
I do know words, and I will say them
and he's
right
got
now.
a bunch for you right
I have
now.
so many. I have at least 12, probably more.
Some say a podcast is mostly words.
Not here. All right. Anyway, here's the narration. Here's what it says. Damn, this starts off with a fucking bang. Anyway, I was born in hell. As
Same.
far as I can remember, I have inhabited this distorted body. For years, I drifted aimlessly with other stolen husks in an endless tree of fields. That's what it says. Okay, just making sure. But then I heard a sound. I heard her singing. The tune was familiar somehow. So I followed her. I could see she wasn't truly there. She was transparent, slightly. Her expression vacant, her voice muffled. She was a memory from another world. Wonderland remembered her, and that memory lived on. Yet, I could tell she wanted me beside her. So, I followed. I followed her for years, wondering. She never got closer. Hey, does this sound fucking familiar?
No, why?
It sounds like Jason's voice.
Are you serious? This doesn't sound like the time that we listened to What the Fuck's Her Face Arnoldson leading a tree through Wonderland?
Can't say I've ever heard about that before.
They prefer the term ent.
We just went over whatever. Okay. All right. If no one sees this, cool.
If you're still listening to us, you've
I
gotten
have
to the part where
AWS, I'm
we're
dissociating.
You've gotten to the point where we've all become way less sober than we were in the beginning. So
This is insane. Okay, but either way.
I picked a bad night to stop doing the liquid death.
this is why I'm drinking beer. So I'm not.
So again,
I would be wrecked if I was drinking whiskey tonight.
So again, she never got closer. Then one day or night, out of the tens of thousands, she stopped singing. She turned around and pointed at the tree. The tree that bent and the tree that pulled me in. The same tree that pulled her. Vertigo. A deep, cold, endless vertigo. The dark soil between realities. I experienced this infinitely. Then one day or night, out of the millions, a vibrant miasma of light and color tore through the dark. I could not take it. I could not comprehend of it. I went mad.
Are you laughing at miasma?
A vibrant Miata
Of
tore through
color.
the light.
A vibrant Miata.
And James Dean was driving.
Anyway, my existence was fully unchained, sent into the starless abyss. When I regained sight, I was in a new forest, one of leaves and bark and dirt, a kind forest, not Wonderland. She led me out of hell, but she couldn't follow. She was a figment of Wonderland she could not leave, a dream which could not separate itself from the dreamer. I was alone again. There's another hell tearing through the dark, a furious hell burning space and time to ignite the earth and cage us all in an unending nightmare. I was born in hell. I can't let anyone else be damned like I was. No one should ever live the life I have. I can protect everyone from the hell above. I must save everyone. For father, for mother, for everyone. Thank you for that. So after this monologue comes to a conclusion, the video hard cuts to a very dark forest, and we also very well know this as the Babylon Forest. The sky is a dark crimson. It's got a bright red light in the sky, and it's indicating that which serpent, Doug? Which serpent's here?
I'm not even sure.
It's the horny serpent.
No, the Martian serpent.
Sorry, the
A
Martian.
Martian serpent is coming.
Frozen one.
The cold ass serpent is
He got
approaching.
cryo-frozed.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I am a child.
All of this being said, while Everett, while glowing white and with massively disfigured proportions, exits the frame. Blue light begins to glow brighter and brighter in the background. That's not right. In the background. And the text at the very end that we see, which is super fucking weird, says to be concluded. Not continued, to be concluded. And that is the end of Arnoldson Alone. From there, we move on to our very... Are you fucking kidding me? What is happening right now?
No, go on.
Oh, yeah? All right. The very last video in the Monument Mythos Season 3 is a video called Freedom Forever. If I'm being 100% honest, this might have been one of my least favorite videos in the series.
The final
Really? Why?
episode.
The information... I
Just the
understand that
shitty
none of you
3D
guys
renders.
know what's happening right now because you're crying from laughter.
No cryotube serpent.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
I got it. Mars.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you're welcome.
So, this video is it's essentially like a combination of every trope that you've seen between season 2 and 3. It's a direct follow-up to the ending of the last video that we saw.
Monument Mythos has become analog horror.
Yeah, here we go.
Just now it did.
So,
But like
I don't know what point I'm making.
Freedom Forever opens up with a quote. The quote says, "I should have stayed a writer." And an image comes up in the view. It's really not clear what's happening in the background, but eventually it reveals itself to be the writer, Rod Serling.
I actually can't remember.
No, Rod Sterling is the FBI investigator. You're thinking of
yes,
Stewart.
Rod
you're right.
Stewart.
FBI
thinking
investigator
of,
Rod Serling.
I thought you were talking about the French guy. It starts with a B. What's his name?
No, not the dude who who made the freedom statue.
Oh, Frederick.
Frederick. Yeah, no, not him. Not him.
Oh, oopsie, sorry.
No. Yeah.
We're all like, where are we? Just
We're at the
laugh for
very
10
end of
minutes
season
straight.
3. So after the quote fades away, it reveals again it was by the former director of the FBI in this weird ass universe, Rod Serling. The image slides up towards upwards enough to reveal that this actual picture is covering the cover of a book entitled "The Death of President Dean."
Right.
A true story of Rod Serling.
Because nobody gives a shit that he's
I
actually the
don't give a
vice
shit.
president.
Yeah, exactly. Once he makes that move and he sees his fucking popularity dropping, he goes to vice president, and that's where most of this happens. And God. So
now that I'm back in reality, it's kind of funny too because there's some like
there
weird
goes Graham.
instances of the past Deanverse kind
Yeah.
of meshing
Yes.
into
There's
the
remnants.
Montyverse.
Almost like particles have folded its way through time or something.
and we'll actually probably cover a lot of this
Weird.
in the Nixon verse episode that
Yep.
we end up doing eventually.
Yep.
Because it'll make a little bit more sense.
Yeah. The Nixon verse, like it does help make sense of some of this, but it's not necessary. So like if you want more lore, go fucking check that out. But we will be doing an episode on that very soon here. Haru, the headless body of Agnew. I think that's about it for that. Yeah. President Dean, true story of Rod Serling. So after that, we go on to another video named, oh my God, no, it's another section. Motherfucker, that's only half the video.
We can do it.
So after this, we cut to a logo. It's the United States Department of Technology, and it fades out and it reveals the same type of 3D animation that was used for the Department of Technology video in Alcatraz Apocalypse with the false children and the androids. Yep, same exact 3D modeling. From here, you can see a blue glowing head. And at this point, we just kind of understand that these glowing blue heads are crowns. And this crown was created when the Air Force One Angel was decapitated by anyone? Bueller?
The freedom
The lightning thing.
statue.
I mean, you're both correct. Freedom and the lightning. Yes. The camera comes down and it reveals this statue of freedom who is kind of frozen in front of it, or in front of the Department of Technology. It then starts moving. So as of now, we've heard that freedom was essentially beaten by the angel / America, I guess, at this point. We do find that it wasn't actually killed. And we see the Statue of Freedom standing in front of the Air Force One Angel. Uses its hands to pull apart its own face to give a battle cry. Now, this one's super important. Up until now, we've kind of assumed that the Air Force One Angel and Freedom, the Monument, have been at odds with each other. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
This is kind of where we find out that not so much. So we see the Statue of Freedom basically open its own mouth. Its face is made of bronze, so it has to crack its own lips to open its mouth. But when it opens its mouth, it is far wider than any mouth you could possibly imagine.
Like fleshy too.
Yes.
It's like Canadian.
It's like Predator.
Both those things.
Did any of this make sense? I just listened to the last 3 sentences and none of it made sense to me. So I hope now.
Does the things I said make sense to you?
The statue said, "Mouth more open,
happier.
happier."
So freedom uses its own hands. It pulls its face apart. It essentially shows what it's like, what it's about. It's very passionate about okay, I have to phrase this right, don't I? The freedoms of America? That sound about right?
Yeah. Is that the route you're going?
Sounds patriotic.
I think it might have to do with the statue.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway,
Boot in their ass.
opens its face up, gives a big ass battle cry, and it raises its sword, but when it comes down, it looks like it's trying to kill the angel. As the sword comes down, it gets caught by a glowy tree-like appendage. Do you guys remember that story we told about okay, actually there were 2 stories. The first one being the girl leading the tree out of quote-unquote hell. The other one being the man recognizing the transparent lady. Turns out both of those stories are the same fucking story from 2 different perspectives.
Whoa.
And this is the culmination of that story. So Freedom raises its sword up trying to kill Angel. Everett comes out of the forest because Virginia led him for a million years through through Wonderland
It was a while.
to the one spot that could transport him to the forest that would make him end up to the Babylon forest
Basically, the perfect timing that she could have had.
to stop Freedom from killing Angel. He puts his I want to say hand, but like it's just a tree branch made of energy, catches the sword. There's a battle between Everett and Freedom until the angel gets an opportunity to essentially destroy Freedom's sword, in which case it's a standstill. Fuck, I don't like that. So much just happened. Like so much narrative wise just happened. We saw Freedom, we saw the angel, and now we see actually what Everett has turned into. Because you guys have heard the name Everett before. You know that Everett is part of the Arlenson family. You know that Virginia is tied to Everett because Virginia gave birth to Everett. But unfortunately,
All the things we wanted to say, we can now kind of say.
Here we are, guys. We're here. This is the last episode. This ties everything together, and this is what it tells us. Virginia gave birth to Everett. Everett turned into this tree fucking thing, and
Here, wait, real quick.
millions
Tree.
So yes, Virginia gave birth to Everett, but
on her way to Wonderland.
It was on her way to Wonderland,
which lasted
went
500 years.
Yeah, so when she met Everett as a little girl the first time, it was because some dimensions
The
crossed,
lobotomy.
essentially, and because of all the flashing lights transporting people to and from Wonderland to different spots and to different times, these what we could essentially, I don't want to call corner folk, but basically they were getting corner folk inside of Wonderland.
Yes.
And
Who are corner folk, Doug?
your mother. No, but they're dimension travelers.
They're survivors.
They're
They're
survivors
they're
of
the
the division.
people, yes, the people, the actual humans like you and I that survived the division are known as corner folk, and the reason they're known that way is because they can see into this alternate dimension where Jimmy Dean, Hillary Clinton, what's the other dude's
Al
name?
Gore.
Monty
Clift.
Monty Clift. All of these people have fucking huge power, and they decide
Huge.
They decide to connect the worlds, and here we are.
I almost
The end is the
feel-
beginning. The beginning is the end. It's fucking Ouroboros all over again.
I almost feel like when Cathanot A was like, A, at least everybody's free now. and the angel was like, "Yeah, can we like unfuck this?" He should just be like, "Nah, I think it's better off. I think we should just, I think
Just
I
cap
think
it.
Nah,
we're good here." Yeah, nah.
100%. I will say this is a fantastic ending to a season 3. Although if there isn't a season 4, I am going to be so fucking pissed
Yeah,
because
what-
I have
what-
so many questions still.
What better way to end everything by a giant fusion to
Ha!
blow up a snake?
Absolutely. Well, if you guys didn't realize, like this is literally beginning come full circle. Everett is the catalyst, and Everett ends everything at the same time.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about the ending is it's very satisfying because you have these two
Yeah.
what you thought were enemies at one point, the Freedom Statue and the Angel, coming together to defeat a common.
Yes,
enemy.
and you realize that
fun.
it's not those. It's,
Yeah,
it's
they
the
were
person
never
that-
enemies.
It was the
Yeah.
narrator.
Yeah, they were never enemies to begin with. It was just a happenstance.
But now we have to deal
thing.
with Chthon A, which is a problem because this series is not over. If it is, that sucks because there's
It
no closure.
Looks like potentially season 4 is starting up.
But if not
Potentially.
season
I think
4, season 3.2, or some like another
Mhm.
Nixon verse type thing. Either way, so, at this point, 3 days ago, Mr. Manticore posted another video that looks like it has nothing to do with season 3.
He's been
It has to
posting-
do with a new video series he's doing.
It's called
been
like
posting
criticality
regularly.
or something.
about
No, it
some
starts
shit.
with an N.
Ninjin,
Yep.
something like that. He's been posting regularly for the past couple
Yep.
weeks. Something about this, so we
I'm
might be
not-
seeing
yeah, I'm-
a Nixon verse esque thing.
I hope
here.
so. Well, either way, guys, look
Either
out for
way-
the Nixon verse. Nixon verse is
Anyway.
the next hitter we're coming up with. I don't know if that's gonna be next. I know I'm not here for the next one, so if you guys want to tackle that by yourselves, go for it. But either way,
Who knows? No
We'll see.
promises in Diluti Land.
yeah, no
Believe
promises. This all made sense to everybody, right? We're all well
Oh, yeah.
informed, not
Some of it.
confused.
Deludi.com.
Yeah,
Diluti.
plug,
Yeah.
plug.
Do
No,
that,
guys, this go check out Mr. Manticore. Go support
Yes.
Alex Casanas. Like
I'm very surprised he doesn't have more
his
views.
brain is so good. It's just so,
You're surprised his videos don't have like 2 million views?
He's
yeah,
scraping the cusp of 1 million. He's averaging like 800,000.
which is still fantastic on YouTube. But
It's
like,
great,
guys,
but I'm surprised there's not more because he is one of the I would.
I mean, a lot of the
say-
earlier videos have like 2 million.
True.
yeah.
Like,
Why this is not like the new Squid Game like fad, I don't know. It scratches
Who's to
all
say?
the itches. It's so good.
This is one of the better.
It's
analog
well
horrors.
thought out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite analog horror. And I
Same.
wish it wasn't an analog horror because at this point in my
Eh.
life,
Hard to
Oh,
say actually.
m-
It's
it's-
top three.
well,
top three.
I think this inspired a lot of the analog horror that is not as good.
Yeah.
they
Which
should.
is fine. I mean,
It's
they should
this
borrow
is a
more.
this is a
from this
hard bar to surpass as far
Yeah.
as analog horror goes. And
yeah,
to be
because it's obviously so well thought out.
And
one.
quality.
It really fucking
insanely well thought out.
I mean,
and
We were talking about
I
this the
mean,
other
props
day.
to people who are just starting and doing things for the first time.
Keep it up.
Yeah,
Well,
Don't
and
think you're gonna pull off something like this first try, but
You
either way,
need-
keep it up because you might.
you need to add quality to it, though. You need quality because, like Moot and I were talking about on our little discussion episode, like every single analog horror out there that is just a local 58 copy is
It's
just
all
doing that like
cookie cutter local.
PowerPoint slideshow esque
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
and this is it's
with like
this
the
is
fucking
not.
reel in the background. That
yeah, this is adding so much more to that. They got like interviews with people.
This
they
has
got
background. This
impressions, they
has
got so
lore.
much shit,
This-
yeah.
My favorite
Yes!
parts, I think, in this whole series are the videos where, like, instead of doing like the typical analog horror aesthetic, it's like, here's a Windows Movie Maker video that we made
Yes!
on vacation. It's like
Hell yeah.
close up of a chipmunk.
Dude, one of the videos was like
did we ever talk about Mr. Squirrel?
Oh,
No, we did.
Or
We
a
did in
squirrel.
our old episodes, but not in the new.
Yeah. We touched on it, but we didn't like I mean, we know more now, but oh man. This series is just so fucking good. It hits all of the points for me. It keeps me entertained, and
And here's the
I'm not even
thing.
gonna lie. Ever since I wrote this down as our next episode, I've been just rock hard.
You've been rock
do
hard
this
for
episode.
24 hours.
Yeah, they say if
I mean,
it's more than 4, you should really get that checked out.
A spider bit me a couple days ago. It's been
spider
that
does
way
have pussy.
Oh,
since-
necrosis, gotcha. Okay.
Arachnocrosis. Is that what?
Considering-
Boner.
Considering this is almost a 3-hour episode without the cuts, who knows what Moot can save here. But this is probably gonna be a long one.
You
so
say almost.
I'm gonna make this short, sweet, to the point. We are gonna go
Duluth.com, that's all you need.
Duluth.com. That's all you need. Patreon.com/DuluthPod. Google phone number is 630.
Nope, just Duluth.com.
Nope. Google phone number is 630-909-9366. The Gmail, DuluthPod@gmail.com. Send us a text or email. We'll respond. Send us a voicemail. We'll play at the end of the episode.
Internet. Go
Internet.
check them out.
Yeah, pay attention to those internet ones because there is some
Pay
hidden
attention.
shit
Be nice
in
to
those.
internet.
Yeah.
I don't
Do
know
not.
I don't know why y'all are
Don't fuck with them.
pushing the buttons, man.
Internet will shut us down.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure they have that power.
But I would say we're going to cover the Nixon verse next because
Yeah.
it's a fun one.
No.
Okay.
We have, a,
No,
we have
no.
a week in between.
yeah, I'm
Jason
gone
ha-
for I'm not
Jason-
here next week.
Jason's a piece of shit.
We'll
I
pepper
claim
something fun in to break it up, and then we're going to do the Nixon verse where
I want to be a part of it.
if we can wrap that up relatively quick, you're going to hear us have a bit more conversational piece about how much we do like this.
Yeah, you'll get more
World.
of an in-depth like here's the connections that we saw, but we would like to cover Nixon verse first because it's kind of the in between of season 2 and 3.
Yeah. But until then, we're going to leave you on this one. We'll be back in a couple weeks to cover the Nixon verse. Until then, hug your tooth daddy. That's me. Hug tooth daddy. If you see me around town,
Daddy.
come up to me and be like, "That's the tooth daddy. I love him." And I'll be like, "You
No.
too." Moot, do you have anything to say to the people?
I think we've all learned a really valuable lesson here today. And
fucking,
that is
fucking doubt it.
and that is definitely that we should listen to what Doug has to say. Doug, what do you have to say?
Oh wait, Doug.
I don't think I've-
Can I have one? Can I sub one in for you? And if you don't like it, you
Can I
do it.
do the
Oh,
thing
it's so
you were
good,
going to
though.
say?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Doug's-
you can. Let me just say one thing.
Okay.
Simple Simon, thank you for being a Patreon for such a long time and supporting us. I'm sorry that I just straight kicked you from the server tonight. Love you, buddy.
This is fine.
I have your beans and peens. Are you ready?
Yep, do it.
This is
Right.
Doug's
Matt,
Doug's Dr. Robot.
shine.
This is Doug's Dr. Robotnik's Mean Dean Bean Peen Machine.
Holy shit.
Nailed
There
it.
you go.
I can't even be mad at that.
Oh, look at Mr. Just found a soundboard.
Isn't it
Damn
fun?
it.
It's so much fun.
Jason, what do you got to say? We'll never know.
Yeah, we won't. As always, guys, stay fucking paranoid. If you happen to see James Dean walking around, pinch yourself because you might be in the wrong universe. If you're not,
I don't think that's gonna help.
just run.
Unless you're on the Vegas Strip, it's probably
just
just, a
run.
person.
Mental
It's
breakdown.
just
Just
an
a mental
impersonator.
breakdown.
And remember the 3 F's.
Feet together, face down,
Front yard, feet together, 5 feet apart.
No, the last one we can't say because it doesn't start with F. It starts with K.
K the P, y'all. Good night.
We
Bye,
love
Mom.
you.
I can design an engine 64 miles to the gallon with gasoline.
With
Stop with the flow bots.
with no handlebars. All right, I'm stopping the recording.
Yep.
Welcome back to Inner Night. We're elated to have you with us once more on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening. Let's start by repeating after me. I am the master of my destiny. I am a product of damnation. Thy end is near. Now, we have a message in a bottle from a fellow member of Inner Night. Eva says, system error. Let's all meditate on this uplifting message. Your lucky numbers for this week are 111, 117, 114, 32, 103, 111, 100, 32, 105, 115, 32, 109, 105, 115, 115, 105, 110, 103. For this week, we recommend engaging in acts of kindness and spreading positivity to others. Small gestures can have a profound impact on someone's life and bring us closer to spiritual fulfillment. Remember to leave a message of encouragement for another member. Together, we feast. Good night.